Hello everyone, my name is Smooth Operative. Welcome to another episode of Time Capsule here on the Games Done Quick Hotfix, the show where we typically choose 1 year in gaming and speedrun our way through popular or influential games released in a particular year. But you know what? It is World Oceans Day and we've got special Ocean Week programming for you this week. SpongeBob will happily be taking over the stream as well as members from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. You can type !MBA donate as well as !MBA store in chat to see more information on the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And today we are happy to welcome Emily, Patrick, and Chris from the Monterey Bay Aquarium as well as Jaxler for SpongeBob's Truth or Square. So welcome everyone. Feel free to introduce yourselves all at once.
Let's go all at once. So, go Emily. 3, 2, 1. I'm Patrick, and
hello,
that's
I'm Emily, and this is
perfect. No, Chris, you want to introduce yourself first from our
sure.
water quality
Chris.
team at the aquarium?
Yeah, I'm part of the water quality team here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. That means I get to go around and sample from all of the exhibits around the aquarium and test the water to make sure it's happy and healthy for our animals. And I'm just here to kind of hang out and get a good chance to chat with Emily and Patrick here.
Oh, awesome. We're always asking Chris, what are you up to going around the aquarium? So usually he's got a little sample vial. You do like to wear your lab coat a lot, which I really appreciate, Chris. It's always fun to see that.
That's the way it has to be.
Yeah.
Gotta look the part.
Gotta look the part. Emily.
Hi. Hello, friends.
Who are you?
Welcome.
I don't need to get that existential this early on in the stream.
What are we doing?
What
Who
are
is
we
this?
doing here?
If a sponge
What is our
truly
purpose?
is to Bob, should it not be floating? No, those kinds of questions. Okay.
Yeah. But you know, if beyond those questions, my name's Emily. I am part of the social media team at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. The other, well, I would say better half, but let's just be honest. We're both terrible boys.
Yeah, we're doing our best out here.
Yeah, but I get to hang out and help run our social channels all across the internet along with Patrick. Yay!
Yay!
Excellent.
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm Patrick on the aquarium social media team. Fun fact, Patrick and SpongeBob is named after me. That's canon, and don't look it up. But yeah, very, very excited to be here with GDQ. Yesterday's streams were a whole lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who was tuning in. Thanks to the runners. Thanks to the GDQ team. And I'm really, really excited to see Jaxler's run here on SpongeBob, because outside of I think Nemo and Dory, SpongeBob and Patrick are probably the most popular names that kids are screaming at all of the exhibit animals when they come visit the aquarium. So very excited to have everybody here together to go to Bikini Bottom and check out what's going on.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan. Jaxler, do you want to take it away from here?
Yeah, sure. I'll just go ahead and introduce I'm Jaxler. I'll be doing the first of the 2 runs tonight for you folks. This is SpongeBob's Truth or Square. This is like the third of like 3 major 3D platformer SpongeBob games that were all made by Heavy Iron Studios. You might know them best for the Battle for Bikini Bottom game. That one was the most popular. This is the 3rd game they made. They made it in 2009 for the Xbox 360 and Wii. And we're going to show off 100% tonight. This is a really, really broken game. There's going to be... I'm just going to warn you right now. There's a lot of tech going on. There's going to be a lot of sponges breaking the boundaries of physics and aquadynamics. It's gonna be a really good time. But I'm really just excited to show this off. We've actually not shown off 100% in this kind of a capacity before, so going to be some cool stuff that we're going to be showing off for the first time. So I'm really excited.
Me too. Whenever you're ready, Jaxler, I think we got you on the timer.
All right, sweet. So time for the run is going to start when I select a new game here. So we'll count off from 3 and start on go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We're ready.
Awesome. I'm ready to I'm soaking it all in. I'm sopping it up, as it were, as a sponge. Hey, there I am already, right off the bat. First character.
There he is.
That's Patrick.
So this first level of Jellyfish Fields coming up is going to have a very tricky variant of what's called a hammer clip. There's going to be a bunch of robot enemies in this first area, and there's going to be one on a cliff to the right that I'm going to try to manipulate into a favorable position. If I do this right, he'll clip me through the wall and let me do some shenanigans. But this one's a little bit tricky, so I have to line him. Okay, so he's behaving, which is good. So I have to look for a specific patch of grass right about here. Wait, he's going to swing, and then hope and pray. Okay, so I'm looking for a very specific spot on the wall here. I got one more hit before he won't clip. Oh, I got the clip third try. Let's go.
Yes!
Yeah, let's go.
Nicely
so that's
done.
Yeah, so I have to be very careful here. There's kind of an edge to the grass where the floor just does no longer exist. And I'm going to jump through the floor and to these objects over here. Now, what these are happiness objects, and that triggers the end of the level. So basically what the game developers did in order to save on resources, because making 3D objects appear on a whim is very processor intensive. So they actually hide them outside of the map, and then they just teleport them to wherever they're needed. But the devs left all of the code that's associated with those objects active. So if we go out of bounds and grab them, that tricks the game into thinking that we've actually beaten the level. So that saves about 4 minutes? It's a lot. Yeah.
I want to say that the path that you took there was very similar to me also looking for my lost spatula the other day. I ended up having to clip through the floor into my neighbor's basement. It's like, how did you get this here?
Yeah.
So
we'll actually be grabbing that in another level, believe it or not.
You know what's really funny about what you were mentioning there about some shenanigans related to sponges being able to clip through the barrier there and coming through the other side. Some of the folks out there may or may not know, but sponges are some of the they're some of the original multicellular creatures, but they don't have tissues. Or they don't have organs. They're on the tissue level of organization, and they're so simple, in fact, as an organism, that you can take a marine sponge, you can run it through a cheesecloth, basically separate them out into individual cells, and then they'll reassemble into a sponge. Not the same sponge that you had before, but they'll reassemble themselves through the cheesecloth and become a functional sponge on the other side. That's how simple of an organism sponges are in the ocean.
Yeah.
So when you're clipping through this and getting to the other side, you're literally doing some biology right now, reassembling yourself fully formed through the filter.
Yeah. So that example right there is much easier than the one I did in the previous level. What we do here instead is we can't actually do the same trick where we just skip to the end of the level because it kind of locks up our game. Don't worry about it. But what we do instead is we actually go to a tunnel in a later part of the level. And what that does is it activates a checkpoint trigger, and then I intentionally fall into the void, which kills me and puts me back inside the boundaries of the map. Alright, so I tried to do a cool little trick there, but I kind of beefed it, so I need to go back and grab this power-up real quick, and then I'll try it again here. It's a bit of a tight window to get it, but not a huge deal. I can just go back and back it up. Also, we're muscular now. Don't worry about it. We'll explain.
Oh, yeah. No, your character just got a buff. I know gaming terms.
Yeah. Alright, so I did a neat little bit of acrobatics there called a spin boost. So those spinner robot enemies, when you clink into them with your attack, they normally expect you to be on the ground. So if you can get a jump midair, the game isn't able to properly cap your vertical speed, and so you get sent flying into the air. And that allows us to skip some platforming there. Yeah. We're going to be seeing that trick used a lot more in a bit here.
That was disconcerting, by the way, just sliding around on your phone like that. I'm just we're going by very quickly, like that's a normal thing to do.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's all canon.
Okay, yeah, it's all good.
So as I'm going through the hallways, you're seeing me do not what a normal sponge would do here, but we're sliding through here with what's called spin hopping, where I jump and then use the spin attack, and that gives me a little bit of speed as I move through the air. And I'm using that with these little short jumps in order to try to conserve some speed. Then as I get into this section, I'm going to be quiet for just a second. There's going to be another spinner friend here, and he's going to meet his doom as I jump up here. And this is going to get us all the way up here and skip this puzzle, and you'll see this little art box. So as I mentioned at the start of the run, this is a 100% completion run, meaning we'll be getting all of the stuff in the game. Maybe not seeing all of the levels in the way that you might not otherwise, but we're going to be getting pretty much everything. And so each level has 3 of what are called happiness objects, which I got at the end of the last level, as well as some art boxes and a sleeping Patrick. So yeah, you heard that one right, sleeping Patrick. is hidden in each level, and you have to find them in order to 100% this game. I don't know. It's a thing. So these flowers are kind of weird. I'm not sure like what sort of species they're modeled after, but if you get too close, they kind of snap you in like a Venus flytrap. But their hitboxes are too small, so if I squeeze right by them, they won't eat me for dinner. So
They sound a little like predator tunicates, maybe something like that. They don't look like it, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, as far as looking like things, they look like jelly polyps, like little umbrellas.
They're-
Yeah.
Quite a few little trap animals on the seafloor out there. If you happen to be an ambulatory sponge, like so, lots of different animals you got to worry about, from tunicates, bryozoans, hydroids, jelly polyps, like Emily was mentioning. Chris, I wanted to ask you, is this similar to what you look like when you're doing your rounds at the aquarium for water quality? I just want to know if you're doing the lick of the floor test just to see, like, pH is a little bit off here. How's that
every
going?
now and then I check to make sure the water has enough salt in it.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Is it
Yeah, it is
salty
kinda like a
today?
salt lake.
It is good.
Well, actually, it's kind of cool because, of course, the aquarium, because we pump in seawater from the ocean, we don't have to make our own salt water. But there is a lot of aquariums around the world, around the country that do. Places like the Georgia Aquarium would have to make their own because they're quite a long distance from the ocean. And so my aspect of water quality isn't necessarily as complicated as some other places. We have different things to worry about because we're worried about things like plankton coming into the aquarium or things like that. But it's a whole different set of things than some of these other aquariums deal with.
So
Is there
Chris,
a power? Oh, sorry, Emily.
No, I had a very important question, just along the lines of when you are tasting the seawater for its salinity, does it make you go, sodium?
Oh dear.
That was a long walk to
Nice.
get there.
You should, I don't know, Emily, based off the reaction to that pun, maybe you should go chlorhide.
Nah.
Nah.
It seems like there are a lot
Oh.
of things to worry about at the aquarium, which is why we have the command !MBA donate as well as !MBA shop. Could you tell us a little bit more about the things that need to be done around the aquarium, so what people will actually be donating for?
Sure. Well, we need a budget for the pants on our mechanical starfish there that keep falling off when they get attacked by sponges. So that's certainly a big part of the budget, considerable.
Absolutely.
But we have so many different programs that the aquarium is doing. We rescue and rehabilitate sea otters at the aquarium. We are also we do a lot of work with sustainable seafood, so you know what kind of good seafood exists in your area with the Seafood Watch program. So lots of science being done out there in the world. But Emily, you were mentioning before that it costs a lot of money to feed the sea otters, who are also one to pants mechanical sea stars in their enclosure. So it's quite involved. Emily, you were mentioning how much it costs to feed the sea otters at the aquarium.
Yeah, well, as we are fighting these nemesis here, it takes a ton of food to feed a sea otter. Every year, each one of our sea otters eats around $19,000 worth of delicious, sustainably caught seafood there. It averages out to a little over $50 a day per sea otter, and we have 5 of them. Not to mention all the rescues that come through that rescue program, as they are spending some time with us before we're able to release them back out into the wild. So your donations go, a lot of them go straight into the otters' tummies to help to take care of them and to help get their populations back up into the wild too. Yeah.
And the rest goes to the treasure chest, like Jaxler just opened up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, any overflow directly into the treasure chest.
Yeah. I don't know why that treasure chest has a green hot dog in it, but that's going to be one of the things we need to 100%. I know, this game is really, really a trip.
Well,
but we're gonna...
whatever the hot dog was in there that was green, you have to make sure to relish it when you when you grab it. Yeah. I don't know if you're ahead of time or behind time, but maybe you need to catch up with the hot dog that was in there. No?
Yeah. No,
I'm
we're
just
doing pretty good on time.
puns. Sorry. Okay. I was just doing condiment puns. I'm sorry.
It happens. Sometimes we just get caught up in the moment.
Yeah, that one didn't pass the mustard.
Speaking of condiments, this level is called fry cooking, and this is
There
a
we
lot.
go.
A lot of the levels in this game are based on episodes of SpongeBob. So this one is, even though it's in Jellyfish Fields, it's modeled after the first episode where he becomes an aquatic fry cook. But we have to go through the outdoor bus wash first before we get there. Yeah, yeah, like I said, this game's a little bit of a trip, but yeah, this level has some really cool stuff to it. So like the first sort of bit, we're riding these buses, and then in sort of the back half of the level, there's like a gauntlet of 3 really tough speedrun tricks back to back that I'm trying to go for. So we got one more bus ride to go here, and then we kind of go into that gauntlet. I'm really excited to show you some of those. But for now, okay, cool. Hit the button. I cannot tell you how many times I have missed that button. It's like right there, and I'm just incapable. All right, there we go. On the bus watch.
Getting some pretty strong Pickle Rick vibes from those enemies that you're going after right there. I love the idea of this bus wash when there's like a whole lot of water right below it.
Yeah, like the 17 different signs that all say "hot!" exclamation point on them.
Just in case anyone was confused.
Yeah, in case you forget after you move another meter on the bus. But as we get onto this dock here, I'm going to be jumping off a little bit early so I don't have to ride the bus the whole way. And I'm going to jump around the right side to skip a cutscene. Before I go into this next trick, I'm going to make a quick detour to grab this art box right here, which we need to get for collectibles. And then I'm going to go for something called the first propeller skit. That's a little tight. Oh, I got it. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
So that looks a lot. That looks as hard as I was making it sound. Because the size of the platform you have to land on there is about the size of the circle where all those propeller fans are. If you land on the propeller fan, you just get sent straight into the drink. So you have to be really careful there. You'll see that come up in just a moment. But we got something up here called Tub Skit. There's Mr. Krabs over there. I'm going to jump inside of this rock because the developers forgot to put another side to the rock. And then I can go ahead and jump to... Oh, I screwed the trick up. Okay, I'll go for it again. But yeah, a lot of the barriers in this game aren't like modeled to their actual like shapes and proportions. They just made some like rough sketches of walls and called it a day. So I can use that to sort of platform up this section. I mean, hey, you do what you gotta do when you're making games is expensive. But I can use that to get up the cliff without having to talk to Mr. Krabs there. So there's our first sleeping Patrick. He was hiding inside a cardboard box. I don't know how we got in there, but we have freed him. So there's one
Patrick,
of those.
What do you have to say for yourself?
One of the things about Patrick's as echinoderms, first of all, we have very minimal energy requirements, but that means that we are typically very, very sluggish moving around. But then the other thing is that echinoderms are one of those animals that can be incredibly malleable with their body shape and fluidness. I just invented that for, we got our first little look at Squidward here in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so echinoderms like sea stars, they have an internal skeleton that have teeny tiny little ossicles that are between all of their muscles and skin, and they can tense those up to become rock hard and withstand a strong wave crashing against the shore. And then they can also smoothen themselves out and crawl through very, very thin gaps and be able to mold themselves to the rock. So they're at once incredibly flexible and also very, very rigid animals there. So shout out to echinoderms. And how rude of you, Jaxler, to disturb my nap.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to do that like 8 more times.
Dude.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I have to mention that if you want to disturb Patrick's nap, there is an incentive to view a picture of Patrick,
That's right.
all in sea star dancing form, for $1,000 to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So if you'd like to contribute to that incentive, the exclamation mark NBA donate command is in chat, and you can donate.
If we can get $1,000 for the aquarium, you will get to see a Patrick becoming Patrick Sea Star IRL, just bringing the bringing the pixels to life on the grand stage. So yeah, if you want to see what it looks like when a Patrick is inside a Patrick Starfish costume, but like anatomically correct starfish costume, that's what I did in college, trying to cut my marine biology interpretation chops. And here I am all these years later commenting on Jaxler SpongeBob speedrun. So look at me now.
Oh yeah.
This is awesome.
So as we're actually going back to one of the levels we already completed, we've gotten a lot of the collectibles from these already, but some of them don't unlock until you come back for the second time. When we did the skip at the very beginning of the run, we got 3 of the really slow to grab and important ones, but we have a couple of more things we need to clean up in this level here, so we didn't go back right away because we actually unlocked a new ability in the fry cooking level, so we can't get these collectibles until literally right now, so that's why we're making this return trip. So now you get to see all the level that I skipped.
So considerate of you.
Yeah.
Spatula high, yeah. I love that move.
Yeah. So Pat, I hate to steal your thunder, but I'm gonna have to wake you up again. So
No.
you're gonna be hiding in this little crate right there. There he is. He's got a little police chief hat. I'm not sure why he's wearing that hat. I don't know, but he's wearing that hat while taking a nap, which is interesting.
So that maybe nobody would pull him over and
Yeah.
be like, hey, wake up. He's like,
Hey.
no, I'll make the rules.
No
this
free
is
parking.
awesome.
Maybe he was just taking an arrest. Arrest? Yeah.
I was thinking it was more of a
there it
pat
was.
nap, but I tried. I'm not as good as the trained professionals over here on the fun department.
The professionals we are.
Yeah,
working
exactly.
at the aquarium after all, yeah. So this is a really awesome. Chris, is this also something that you're wont to do? Is just soak up a whole water sample and go and deposit it back?
This is an alternative power
Oh my
source
goodness.
aquarium we thought about doing.
That's right. Yeah,
And
the
since we do
perpetual.
have to run all our filters and our pumps and everything like that 24 hours a day, it does run up our power bill a little bit. So we're looking for alternative means.
Yeah, this
right
seems
now,
like a perpetual
solar and
motion
wind
to me.
power seem to be more efficient, but I think there's some hydroelectric potential.
More
Yeah.
efficient.
Efficient, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So behind that door was a single art box. So yeah, we had to go a little bit out of our way there. But hey, we had to go wake up Patrick, so it's all worth it in my eyes. So
No, I haven't.
oh, go
Sorry,
for it.
I haven't watched a lot of. Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Yep.
Whew. Does I haven't watched a lot of SpongeBob. Does SpongeBob have family, like nieces and nephews? At all?
He's got a couple he's got a couple. Yeah, he's got a mom and dad. I think like a cousin. I don't remember it. It's
I was
been a
just
long
wondering
time.
because if there's nieces or nephews, I was gonna say Bob's your uncle, and then throw it back to you, Jaxler, for what you're talking about on the speed run. Sorry.
Oh, no,
That
all
was a very
good.
long. That was a very long walk for a terrible pun, but I had to get Bob's your uncle in there somehow.
It happens. So the strat I did there was actually kind of interesting. This sort of, you see the timer up at the top, which means I'm in a sort of tiki challenge of sorts. And the reason I activated that is it actually gets me a little bit of extra height to get on top of a platform so I can basically skip the entire section and get the art box while I'm on my way up here. And so now we're in a sort of a combat arena where there's nothing I can really do to speed any of this up except for just wait it out. But this one's really funny because you can just sit in the corner and the robot's AI completely breaks, so...
He's refusing to fight.
Yeah,
We can
hands are
only
off the
find we can only find an adversary that is willing to fight us.
I just love how confused they get.
That's usually the reaction of most belligerent people to a pacifist. Of just like, wait, you don't want to fight?
As a fish.
A passive fish.
Hey.
There we go. We're only we're not even 20 minutes in yet, and we're already like triple digits on the pun count. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We got a bit of sardine audience there.
Yeah.
How about those around the aquarium? That's some of my favorites around the aquarium. Is our sardines.
Okay,
Not a lot of
those are the
Yeah.
characters down the left.
Yeah,
Here. Okay.
the ones that aren't exactly standing on the platform, kind of floating above it.
You are underwater, so gravity really doesn't matter that much.
True.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of sardines at the aquarium. I'm not exactly which one is the sardine of education in the school, but we have quite the group of sardines at the aquarium, tens of thousands typically, and pretty fun that the aquarium used to be a sardine cannery along Cannery Row. If you've had to read John Steinbeck and Cannery Row, that is our neck of the woods there. And the Hovden Cannery used to be putting about 70 tons of fish into cans. I think that was per day or per year. 70 tons was going into there at some point. And nowadays we are an aquarium that showcases the sardines. So we basically had a complete reversal in our relationship to sardines from put those fish into a can so I can eat them to put those fish into an exhibit so I can look at them, and still making some good bucks to this day on that. So very fun
And
to see
being
those.
such
the
little
sardines
fish,
grow
they've got
up.
a surprisingly long tenure. They can go up to 25 years if predators don't get to them first.
It's true, yeah. They can live 25 years, but the majority of sardines are living less than 12 years because of consumption reasons. They're getting molecularly assimilated into higher trophic levels all the time, where basically, if you look at a whale, you're really just looking at a whole bunch of reorganized sardines in our area. So what's going on here? And I'm noticing there's a fish that pops up on the lower left sometimes. That's a dialogue box that you're closing out of.
Yeah. So he's just telling me that I've done the thing and gotten the collectible. I got an art box along the way there, but each level has like 3 like little challenges to it. You get 1 for beating the level, and then 2 that spawn upon beating the level, at least in traditional ways of playing this game. But we're going to be doing some kind of cool stuff to manipulate on that front. This is probably one of my favorite sections to show off in this specific category of this game, because we're gonna be cruising by the fish here. Sorry, not the fish, the Flowers of Doom again. But I'm gonna be going for something really interesting here. We're supposed to be going into one of these arena fights, but what I'm doing is I'm opening up the dialogue box and then intentionally taking damage from the flower. While he's in the flower, SpongeBob is actually stuck and he can't get sucked into the arena. So now, instead of having to do the arena fight, we just wait out the timer while going and doing all the other stuff. And right there, we get to use the arena as a platform. And so, even though you'll see another timer pop up, the timer for the arena is still running while we're doing this. So what I can basically do is, instead of have to wait a minute for the arena to end and then go get all of these collectibles, I can instead go do all of this junk, and then the arena will finish right about as I'm done, so it compresses all of that into one giant multitasking trip.
Oh, I love it. You're just outsourcing the arena fight to the timer real quick. You're just
Yeah, exactly.
Count me down. Nice.
So you're going to see some more packages fall in, and if you have noticed the theme yet, it's that Pat tends to appear inside of crates. So he's going to appear inside of this little platform, and now that we're here, we're just waiting up on the timer, so I can just goof around with Patrick a little bit here while we're waiting.
That's one of my greatest feats, is to be found napping in these boxes.
Yeah, coming from an airplane. I'm surprised he survived the fall.
Someone had a question in chat that was, what kind of sponge do you think SpongeBob is? Like, what would you think is the closest we could?
Oh, man. Well, for our local area, for our local species, we've got several different types of yellow sponge, but I would say that the closest in body shape and maybe even personality is the orange puffball sponge that we have here locally. They tend to grow in little clusters, and they actually open and close their little pores. You can see on the SpongeBob character, those little openings there. They can open and close those to either open themselves up to more water flowing in that they then filter out, or they can close them up if there's a little bit too much water action going so they don't tear themselves apart. And it's actually something, if you become a scientific diver in doing any type of research or anything where you have to tell the difference between a sponge, a tunicate, or some other blobby thing that's on the ground. When you poke a tunicate, it's rubbery and has a little bit of a give to it. But if you push down on a sponge, it's, you guessed it, spongy, where it actually collapses under your finger and opens itself back up. So sponges, as we know, there's a lot of synthetic sponges that you can purchase nowadays. But back in the day, sponge divers in the Mediterranean and other places are very famous for their diving prowess, going out with hard hats, going and collecting sponges for not only medicinal research, because sponges create a lot of pretty nasty compounds that can be used in medicine, but also sponges for the cleaning purpose have been historically collected from the ocean. If you ever want to see some of that, you can take a look at Cousteau's Silent World, which was one of the first in-color underwater movies that Cousteau made back in the 50s. And you actually get to follow a sponge diver around with a hard hat, and they're kind of showing off the brand new technology that was scuba back in the day to show how much easier it is to swim around. with that. So to answer your question shortly, I'd say an orange puffball sponge, Tethia californiana, I believe is the name now of those sponges out here.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's kind of cool about sponges, though, is how do you tell them apart from each other? So you don't have a whole sponge, you have pieces of sponge.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can actually look under a microscope. Maybe if you dissolve the tissue parts of the sponge, they're all filled with these little glass spicules, these little spikes. And each piece of the sponge will have a slightly different shape of spicule. So even if you can just dissolve them down, that's you can tell different species of sponges apart under a microscope by looking at those little pieces of glass inside of there.
So you would say that SpongeBob is less of a glass half full or half empty, but more full of glass type.
Full of dangerous glass
type
spikes.
being. Yeah. Yeah, and those sponges are gnarly, and that's why there's very few animals that eat them out there in the wild. Jaxler, what can you tell me about the Squidward transformation here? What's going on?
Yeah, so this is Squidward. He's our buddy, and he's helping me take out some of these robots here. So he equips SpongeBob basically as a clarinet rocket launcher, for lack of a better term. And in at least older speedruns, he used to be like really, really powerful for clearing out enemies. But unfortunately, that's probably the last you'll see. Well, you'll see Squidward in cutscenes, and on occasion in the hub menu. But we won't be using him that much anymore because we skip him now. Actually, it's something we found, I think, a week and a half ago for the speedrun. So that's pretty rad. Well, you might still see him.
His contribution just then was incredible.
Yeah.
Shooting that out. So.
No squidding. Yeah.
No squidding. Incredible.
Oh my gosh. All right.
We talk more about Squidward on our Cephala podcast. If you want to.
Yeah, I am glad that one tenticled you. So.
Yeah.
That was great. So just one more happiness object that we gotta grab there, and then we're done with revisits for a little bit. And then we're gonna be going into, quit the game, please. There we go. So we're going into a really cool level. This is like a level that's very different depending on the category that you're playing. I don't think we've ever. This is the first time we're showing 100%. So this is going to look a little bit different than you would see in like someone's beat the game as fast as possible run. Obviously we got some collectibles to get, but we're going to be doing some really funky stuff in this level once I get the first art box. If you like the really funky stuff, you'll probably really like this level.
I like that you're describing what's coming up next as the funky stuff.
Yeah.
Even after everything we've already seen.
Yeah, I just jumped on propellers, almost fell into the drink again. Yeah, no big deal.
Just licked my way down a
Yeah.
slide made of goo. So in this particular level, it seems like you're headed towards a Captain Squidward. Is that what
that's Santa Squidward.
That's Santa Squidward. Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to be accessing him in a bit of a different way. Now, if you remember back to the first level, this will look a little familiar. Going to jump off some ice cubes on top of these steam vents through that wall that miraculously does not exist, and we are out of bounds. But the interesting thing is part of the floor extends past the walls of the map, which is how I haven't fallen to my doom yet. What I'm going to do is get right about here, jump underneath the floor, and then all three happiness objects are sitting right under the starting platform. And that just lets us skip straight to the end of the level.
That's awesome.
So yeah, there's supposed to be another treasure chest there, and now the screen's gonna fade out because I really broke the game. Have to listen when to press A because literally I caused the screen to fade out because you're technically... So after falling out of bounds for a certain amount of time, the game will just kill you as a failsafe in order to put you back in the map. So what happened there is I actually died as I entered the cutscene, which is why you saw the screen go to black there. But we're going to immediately go back into the level to grab the rest of the collectibles. In addition to instantly beating the level, it's really nice to do that skip because you don't have to do the challenges for the other two happiness objects. You just get them for free. So you don't have to like do these like tiki breaking challenges like you've been seeing me do in some of the other levels. Additionally, they also unlock the use of these cardboard boxes. They're given to you after you beat a level initially in order to save people backtracking when they're getting the 100% objectives for this game. And so that is also really critical for us because it means we don't, in addition to skipping through the full level, we skip even more of it on the second trip because we have all those shortcuts enabled for us. So it's very complicated, but in other words, it's fast.
This is just mind-boggling to watch. I love that you're figuring all of this stuff out.
Yeah, it's been a team effort, really. You know, just like the stuff you folks do at Monterey Bay. We've had people working together for, I want to say, almost 5 or 6 years at this point, trying to piece things together for this game. And I mean, heck, like I said, oh, hi Patrick. Like I said, we found something new like a week and a half ago, so that's why I love doing stuff like this, because you get to meet some really cool people. And heck, I never thought I would get to meet people from an aquarium. Like, that's so sick.
We're out here. We're always watching.
We exist.
We're in your restaurants. We're in your community. Yeah, no, thanks for having us. And I mean, again, like the number of SpongeBob shirts that we see visiting the aquarium. I mean, this game and like the series SpongeBob has been so instrumental in getting so many people excited about the ocean, and there's so many references in the SpongeBob game that we can use to talk about what's going on in the ocean. Like when we talk about plankton in the ocean, in SpongeBob, that's a copepod with the one eye, and then we can actually show someone a photo of copepods with the one red eye that they have. And so these characters, I think, are loosely based with the one red eye there. So there's just so much marine biology locked in here. I believe the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants went to Humboldt State and did a lot of marine biology stuff. And I'm sure you know that Bikini Bottom is based off of the Bikini Atoll, where they did the nuclear testing for a lot of things. And so that's why the characters here are able to talk to you is out there in the Bikini Islands from the nuclear testing. A little bit of a nod there. So yeah, it's really great to be able to look at SpongeBob being played like this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I appear to have been asked the question of what marine animal do I want to see the most IRL. I would love to see penguins again. I don't know if that counts as marine, but penguins are adorable.
Absolutely does.
Because I would
penguins at the aquarium. What are you doing right now? Let's turn this off. Over here.
Let's go.
We've got penguins.
Yes. Fly halfway across the country. Oops. Stuck in Indiana. So I'm out of bounds. Yeah, don't worry about it. But what we're essentially doing here is we need to get to the end of the level to get the happiness object. So what I've actually done is gotten so high and far up out of bounds that I'm walking on the ceiling of the second to last room in the map. And now I have to clip the camera back in bounds too. There we go. Oh, I failed the trick. Okay, well you get to see me do it again, because this trick is really complicated and also really hard. So at the start here, I'm jumping on top of this rock, and it's a very slippery rock, like most underwater rocks, but that one especially compared to some other stuff. And then I'm hiking up this weird, probably nuclear pole of some kind. This is a secret facility of some sort, so I don't know. Probably redacted. But we use that to get up onto the ceiling, and then there's a really weird property in this game where if there's a part of the level you're not in, the game pretends like it doesn't exist. Did I really fail it again? Okay, well, you're gonna get to see it again. But this is really obnoxious, so I'll get this eventually. But what's happening is the level is kind of sandwiched together, and it kind of crisscrosses back on itself in order to save on that computer memory stuff. And so what we're actually able to do is the end of the level just happens to be right near the beginning. So we can just bypass like 6 minutes of the entire level geometry by just going on top of the ceiling. Even though I'm screwing it up really bad because I'm a little nervous, and this trick is hard, but even doing this saves a lot of time.
But I just want to point out, Jax, this is a very close approximation of what it looks like when the staff at the aquarium are moving through the aquarium themselves, as we're going in all these different secret pathways in the back, cutting through these different doors. Definitely.
That's why they think that we're cryptids.
Exactly.
Because they never see Chris and Matt and I like walking around.
Yeah, you know I've done my job right if you've never actually seen me during the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you see Chris? No? Okay, good. Yeah. No, it's what you just described. They're going through the back alleys of everything. There are certain key efficient pathways through the aquarium for the staff to get their job done in the middle of the summer, especially pre-COVID. If there were days where we had 10,000 people in the building, sometimes you'd wrap up a show over at the Open Sea Wing, and you had to make your way over to the Penguins to do something or other. And there are 5 or 6 different ways you can duck in behind the scenes. Maybe you're walking along Cannery Row outside the aquarium, ducking back in to try to make it over there in time. So if you ever see a mad dash, I'm sure that the security team at the aquarium has seen numerous mad dashes of us as staff just sprinting through hallways to try to make it over there. So I feel like speedruns and aquarium workers have a lot in common there. Yeah.
yeah, Pat, you just described our jobs back when we were programs presenters and we had to make it from one side of the aquarium to the other side to do 2 different programs on a summer day. It just
my goodness.
speedrun.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It hasn't been nearly as busy recently, of course, because we've been closed 14 months over the last year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely all the donations from. We're really appreciative of GDQ for letting us come on and helping us with the donations. Since we've gone literally a year without having any guest income, and so all that funding is really going to help us to continue our important mission of preservation of the ocean.
Yeah, exactly right, Chris. Yeah, the aquarium is funded almost entirely in terms of its day-to-day operations from people visiting. So without that for the last 14 months, that's why when we did Ocean Week last year with GDQ, so great. Y'all helped us reach amazing milestones on YouTube so that we were able to have fundraising opportunities over there. And there was the GDQ fam that got us over the edge there. And so now we have those donate links that are in the chat. And if you want us to also develop an exhibit that looks similar to this, where you have a sponge on a piece of bubble gum, it seems like slapping a squid in the face.
We do have robotic cephalopods, though, Pat.
We do have robotic cephalopods. That's right.
Wait,
there
what?
are installations in our tentacles exhibit.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
we have an amazing artist, Nemo Gould, that made some really amazing animatronics for us. But so if you want to see us, propelling sponge in bubble gum into those, donate now. We can't promise that that's actually going to happen, but we do have that photo of me as a sea star as incentive and a few other things there as well. This is giving us some design ideas for exhibits, I think.
Yeah. Although I don't know where you're going to fund the robotic Krabby Patties from. That was actually something I wanted to ask you. If folks had any idea on what kind of squid or octopus that Squidward might be here. Ooh. If you had any ideas.
Oh, man.
Definitely a squid.
Okay.
Because it has 2 tentacles. You can see that his arms that he's using there would technically be tentacles because they don't have any suction cups on the upper parts of them. It's just on the lower parts right there, and that's how you can distinguish between tentacles versus arms. So he's definitely a squid. So they got the squid part of Squidward right.
Okay.
Definitely a squid, but I don't know if if anyone in the chat or if you know, Jaxler, whether or not the total number of arms or appendages rather on Squidward is 8 or 10, because if it's 8, then okay, we've got 4. It looks like it could be 6, in which case completely my theory goes out the window. If it was 8 arms on Squidward, then it would be the octopus squid, which we have in the Monterey Bay. It's Octopoteuthis is its genus, so it's lacking the 2 tentacles, but
let's take a look here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then his 2 arms. So that's 5 and 6.
So a 6-armed squid, I'm unfamiliar with.
Maybe that's not exactly accurate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no. Unless he's got, but then if he's got the 2 hidden appendages somewhere on there, but. I would say, a market squid, kind of a standard squid. I don't know if we had to.
Interesting.
If we had to pick. But yeah, Emily makes a really good point of the difference between tentacles and arms when you're looking at a cephalopod. The tentacles have those suction cups or teeth on the end of them, and they're really just spring-loaded there to help grab food. And the arms are actually used for manipulating the environment. And then some octopuses. Some researchers consider octopuses to have 6 arms and 2 legs because they tend to have two appendages that they tend to walk on more, and that they tend to be the ones that face away from the front side where the eyes tend to be behind the mantle there. Goodness.
Yeah, so we're doing some rather interesting things here. I did a little bit of a glitch at the start of the level, which is kind of similar to what you've already seen, so I didn't really explain it too much. But what happened at the end of it was kind of interesting. So I actually died as I got the object, and that causes some problems. Let's just put it that way. So the way that this game works is that it has, like, in terms of tracking the progression of the game as you go through each of the levels, the game has just a solid integer number of, sorry for the noise there. So the game has like a solid integer number that it keeps track of in memory of how many levels that you've beaten. And it doesn't really discriminate between which level is which. It just sort of tracks the number of levels that you've beaten. And so what the problem there is when we do that glitch, we get the happiness object, which gets us the cardboard boxes to open up so we can warp around the level and such, and which is how we're able to do these challenges here. But it doesn't actually advance that counter that will allow us to go to the next level. And because of that glitch we did, we can't actually go to the direct end of the level for other reasons that are slightly more complicated. So we're currently in a game state right now where if we wanted to, basically Squidward would have us endlessly going back to this level even though we've already beaten it. So the game is a little bit screwed up right now, but don't worry about it too much because we're going to fix it with some more science. Video game science, or tomfoolery, whatever you'd like to call it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go for it. After you.
Oh, okay. Actually, I kind of beefed this here, so I'm gonna.
Hey, there's me.
Yeah, there you are. He's gonna have to go away though because I can't open this door with Patrick enabled. You might see him again in a future level. But in this room, you're gonna see some more gumballs. And what I'm trying to do is I have that timer on the top of my screen. And normally the game kind of expects you to hit multiple switches here in order to get all the collectibles in here. There's the art box and our good friend Patrick again. Oh, let me through. Thank you. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to beat the clock so that I can get all of these collectibles before the timer runs out. And once the timer does, the water level rises so high that I can't progress any further and I would have to take a death. So because I'm running a little bit low on time, movement is critical through this section. What I'm going to be trying to do is a bit of a backup sequence in order to go over that fence gate. I may not even make it. We'll see. It'll be close. Oh, I made it. Okay, great.
You got this. Yes.
So this is the backup. You climb up this wall, and then you jump over the door just like that. If you go fast enough, you don't have to go for that. It's actually a little bit slower, but it looks way cooler, so I probably would have went for it anyway. That was pretty fun. Yeah, so in this sort of next bit, somebody asked me about this in the chat, and I never got the chance to explain this to them, but this power-up deals double damage to all the enemies here. So one of the trade-offs, though, is that as soon as you take a hit with it, you go back to regular wimpy sponge status. So I kind of have to play damageless almost in order to make sure that I can kill all these robots as quickly as possible. And right after this, we're going to be going into another one of those arena fights where I have to avoid the enemies in order to get the art box. And that one is like a billion times more stressful than all the other ones I've had to do because I have to actively avoid taking damage and I don't have like the silly thing where I can just walk into the corner and the robots shut off. So I'll be a little bit quiet just to make sure that I don't goof it up because it'll make this next section look really cool. But if you folks have anything you'd like to talk about, if you want to...
I actually...
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, well, I was just going to point out that somebody in the chat here, C142, pointed out that the people behind the show decided to make Squidward an octopus because they preferred the shape of an octopus's head. And then show creator Hillenberg also said, further confused things, Squidward doesn't even have 8 legs like a normal octopus. He has 6 because it was easier for the animators. So truly a confounding being to ask a biologist to try to identify. Because to Emily's point, those are tentacles. Those are tentacles straight up. But yeah, I guess it's
lore-wise an octopus biologically. Who knows?
Who knows? But we'll just go. Octopus squid is a real-life animal that exists out there in the Monterey Submarine Canyon. A squid with 8 arms. So if we had to approximate it, it's the squid that has taken liberties with cephalopod anatomy, the octopus squid. And sorry, you were saying something.
Oh, no, that's fine. Earlier we were talking about the aquarium itself, and someone asked in chat, like, how long does it take to set up or break down an exhibit or, like tentacles or deep sea? Jaxler's breaking down an exhibit right now.
Jaxler, we need you on our demo team when it's time to...
You got it.
If you could have been here a couple of months ago, that would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the clipping through the walls part to get around all of it really would have helped speed up some things. But yeah, we've been.
To be fair, though, it does taking down an exhibit goes a whole lot quicker than putting a new one back.
Fair.
Up. Yeah.
It's true. And for the exhibit designers who've had to fix so many of the things, I think it can also be very cathartic by the end to just be like, and this thing's broken forever. But no, the aquarium's actually been doing a lot of decommissioning of some of our exhibits. We had a Viva Baja exhibit, some of you folks out there may have seen, of different animals that you can find in the Gulf of California and off of Baja California, Mexico. So the that exhibit is actually, some parts of it are being, this happens very frequently in zoos and aquariums, is that exhibit, parts of it are being repackaged and shipped over to a natural history museum in Ensenada. I'm blanking on the name, my apologies, but over in Baja and Ensenada, there is a natural history museum that is going to have parts of our Viva Baja exhibit, and we've been decommissioning that part for a few months now, and we're going to be working on that space for several years as we get ready for the Into the Deep exhibit that will be all about deep sea life here in the Monterey Bay Submarine Canyon, which goes down over 2 miles deep at its deepest point. So we'll be talking about those animals and other deep sea life that you find in the Earth's largest habitat, which is the deep sea. So it usually takes several years, and depending on how popular the exhibit ends up being, it may be sticks around a little bit longer. The Splash Zone exhibit, where the penguins are and where we have all of the Nemo and Dory and tropical reef fish, that was a temporary exhibit, but then it was so popular that it has stuck around, and so that happens pretty frequently. I don't know, Chris, how much has your team been working on the water quality over there with the new exhibit?
Well, we haven't really started too much because they've just installed the new tanks in there. We had a bunch of huge shipments come in over the last month and a half or so, and they've been installing the new tanks throughout that entire space down there. So we haven't got to the point that there's water inside yet, but it won't be too much longer, and then that's when my team starts playing a part.
Do you think that the aquarium will reopen this year? Do you have any dates in mind?
Yeah, the aquarium's reopened.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, it's reopened right now. Okay.
Months ago now. Yeah.
Nice.
So we're finally starting to get to see people
Oh,
around.
excellent.
Yeah, it did just happen very recently, and then here in California, June 15th is this date where a lot of things are going to start reopening post-COVID, and so we'll have more updates for everybody. But yeah, right now you can head over to MontereyBayAquarium.org and buy yourself a ticket if you wanted to come and visit. So very excited for
Yeah,
that.
that's great news.
Emily, I think I cut
Can I
you off
pull
on
your
some of the
attention?
exhibits.
Can I pull your attention for just 1 second?
yes,
Because
please.
this is really funny. So there's a bunch of enemies I'm supposed to destroy here. So I'm gonna do the thing where I unload the level real quick, and they just fall through the floor and die. That's it. I just wanted to show that off real quick before it passed us by. But yeah, go ahead, Emily. My bad.
No, that's like the equivalent of Indiana Jones with the sword fighting guy.
Yeah.
Not feeling it.
Just shoot him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I won't steal your thunder though. Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna let folks know, if you're curious about what it's like to like what happens in the afterlife of one of our exhibits, I threw a link in the chat there to one of the stories that our coworker Avalon put together about Viva Baja going to it's the Caracol Museum, Science Museum down in Ensenada. So I put that in the chat, so you can check that out. Ooh.
Yeah, and all through, actually, there's, if you folks ever make it down to Bahia de Los Angeles down in the northern Gulf of California, there's parts of our exhibit from Mexico's Secret Sea that we had back, I think, in the 80s or early 90s as a special exhibit. So
That was one of the very first special exhibits.
Yes, yeah, and largely based off of one of our founders, Steve Webster, has always enjoyed going down to Baja to go exploring and go diving down there, and so lots of really cool aquarium history with that part of the world. So, yeah, great questions about the exhibits. There's so much that goes into exhibit design, from the soundscapes to the physical areas. And then one of the things, we have a question there in the chat from Muffins, and Chris, this is something that you're going to be looking a whole lot at. we talked about how expensive it is to feed the sea otters and all that, taking care of the animals. But one of the things that folks may not think about being expensive is our actual seawater, especially the warm water that we have in the open sea exhibit. That can be very expensive to heat. For those of you out there who are heating water in the house, you know how energy intensive that can be. But conversely, keeping water cold is also incredibly energy intensive. And so for Into the Deep, I know, Chris, you and your team, you're going to be monitoring a lot of very almost magical systems that are pulling gases out of the water and keeping it super chilled for the environment that these animals are used to down in the deep sea.
Yeah, basically we're having to completely reconstruct what the deep sea is like up here on the surface, and so that's usually temperatures somewhere between 4 and 8 degrees Celsius. So getting pretty cold down there. So we're talking also about lots of pressure differences. So we've got to choose the animals we're displaying very carefully to make sure they're ones that can tolerate these approximations. Because of course, we can't necessarily replicate everything perfectly. So we need to pick and choose carefully which animals we're going to be showcasing. But temperature is such a massive one. We have to control so much of those systems that we have a whole chiller bank, which with multiple redundancies, just in case something goes wrong with one of them. And so there's this massive set of chillers.
Yeah, and another aspect too is removing gases from the water can transform the water into sort of a magnet for dissolved gases. And so opening up the tank can be a problem, and you need to open up the exhibit to be able to clean it, to feed the animals that are in there. So everything you're doing here in terms of the demolition here, Jaxler, of all of these exhibits, that's really the easy part. But keeping all of these systems running around you, I mean, let's pour one out for all of the exhibit technicians that you're destroying their handiwork right now in here. It takes a lot to make sure that these systems can keep these evil robotic plankton alive. Lots of thought went in there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in this level. Don't worry too much about it. Some of it's repeats of like applications of stuff that you've already seen me do, like the out of bounds stuff. But I'll kind of mention something I did at the very start of this section when I revisited Murderware. Is you saw me beat the level in like 10 seconds by going through a wall and just exiting the level somehow. It turns out that at the very start of the level, if you go behind the door, there's just a trigger for the end of the level just sitting there. We don't know what it's for or why it's there. But I mentioned that in the previous level, we kind of gunked up our story progress. I went ahead and beat Murderware again, and that trigger always counts for advancing story progress. And it's something actually really funny that we do in any percent or like the beat the game as fast as possible run. Because if you do it over and over again, the game doesn't discriminate between beating that Murderware over and over and beating any other level. So you can abuse that glitch in order to beat like half of the game's levels in like less than a couple of minutes and just get straight to the final boss, which we don't do in this category because we need to get all these fancy little collectibles here. But I think the any percent run is like 22 minutes long. It's really funny. But we did that in this category for this instance in order to actually be able to beat the game because we gunked it up so bad. Okay.
That's awesome.
This game is really broken. So this is the thing I was kind of talking about that we found like a week and a half ago. I'm going to go for it. It only saves 15 seconds, but it looks cool, so I'm going to go for it regardless of the time loss. So this is going to be another hammer clip. So you saw me do these all throughout the run. This one's a bit easier. It's a little tricky. It's the robots actually get to move around. They're kind of random when they kind of load into the level. So
let us know when you're getting ready to do the clip. So
it's right about here.
Okay, stop. Hammer time.
We'll see if I get this though.
Jaxler, what is your origin story as a speed runner? Were you into the game design aspect of it, the how to break a game, or like what was your origin story?
So I got into speedrunning because of like glitch videos I saw on YouTube about like different games, because like I didn't really know about speedrunning yet, but I always it's interesting because I'm actually studying game development in college right now. And one of the things that I find really fascinating about speedrunning as a practice is it's really a way to kind of study a game not just like we kind of like experience games as like a piece of entertainment or a piece of art, but in speedrunning you really like think of it as like a set of interlocking systems and how they all play together. And that's what like really fascinated about speedrunning and a lot of these like glitches and stuff. And it was through like I think YouTube recommended me like some of the GDQ videos, and that's how I got into the hobby itself. But that was like 5 or 6 years ago. But I think the other thing that really appeals to me is like the way in which it's competitive. So it's not. So it is competitive. You're trying to beat your best time and what have you. But it's not in the same way because you're not one-on-one competing on people, right? So if I'm playing like a game of basketball, there's a team that wins and a team that loses. But when I'm speedrunning, it's just me and the clock. And so anytime I put into it, it's just always, a win for me in some way. So I don't know if that makes any sense. But that's what really draws me into this hobby and why I really like to be a part of it and support it and do stuff like this. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for running the game, Jaxler. Nice to see your progress that you've made here on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, this and it's not just my progress. This game in general has come a very, very long way since I started speedrunning it. Probably when I got into college. Yeah, geez. Time flies, but you're gonna see me go for that wall clip again. The first time we used it to get an art box. That's the only reason we did the clip. I got both first try, so that means I'm sick. But when I'm doing this trick, this was actually the part that took us the longest to figure out. We have to do a very specific set of jumps to climb up the tunnel. A lot of this stuff like has geometry to it that isn't really visible. So we've kind of gone into like we've opened up the game a ton to try to figure out where all this stuff is so that we can figure out where to jump. I think that skip we were waiting on for at least like 3 years, and then it got found when I think I was a sophomore. It was a while ago. But yeah, we're at the end of the level now. So this is another case similar to Murmler, where in order to save space on the disc, they keep all the level platforms so in such a loop where they all wrap around each other and sort of end and start at the same spot. So it turns out that tunnel that we just landed on was right at the end of the level, and now we got this mini boss fight here. So that level in the speedrun used to be 5 or 6 minutes longer, but now we have it down to like 7 minutes. It's really incredible. So,
are there any of these games that people speedrun that are made by the professors in game design? And like, do you get a grade from the professor from like destroying their level or their speedrun or something? That'd be so fun.
I wish.
Hey, prof, look what I found. Oh,
yeah. But yeah, the faculty at my school are really interesting. For context, I go to Rochester Institute of Technology up in New York, so I'm actually home for the summer. But like a lot of the faculty work on like a lot more like research sides of things in terms of like interactive technology in games. So they're not just necessarily, hey, let's get a bunch of grad students together and let's make a game. They're actually using like the games as sort of a medium to either educate people or to explore sort of breaking ground in sort of these digital mediums. One good example, there's a professor at my school who is using games and like tabletop games, like board games, in order to teach like concepts of like ancient Jewish law, I believe.
Wow.
I think they have a paper out somewhere. I'd be happy to share that with you folks if you're interested. But they do like a lot of really kind of like off the beaten path, interesting stuff like that, in addition to supporting grad students and making weird and unusual things.
That's really cool. It's awesome.
Jacques, your comment about how the game ends up being sort of a compilation of all these moving pieces together. There's a good comment here, or a question here in the chat, which was asking about like what goes into like the exhibit designs and do different parts of the Aquarius team have input into that. And it's really kind of made me reflect on like the aquarium is this whole bunch of moving parts and pieces together. And like when we are planning something new, it does bring in input from all over the place. We have a specific exhibit design team, but they're working directly with all of the control people who are designing the piping systems and all the controls you need to keep those animals healthy and happy, as well as with the aquarists who are going to be taking care of the animals. You have a whole set of people who just design the signage and things like that for each exhibit. So it's really a whole big teamwork at the aquarium too. It's really sort of big team effort as well.
Yeah,
It is, and I'm just now realizing too, Chris, that there are also load issues with when you're trying to speedrun building an exhibit because of the physical weight of the tank. So the load bearing issues, as it were. Our building was built, or the foundation of the building was built back in the early 1900s. There's a lot of stuff that we had to do when we were building the aquarium back in 1984, where we had to retrofit so many different things. And there's a part of the aquarium where our new exhibits go in the open sea side that is built over the ocean. On these pillars, and so there's only so much weight that those can handle, and so that also determines the type of exhibit that we end up having. And I'm kind of just now making the parallel between like space on the disc, and so here's why there are these glitches and things that you have to figure out how to work around to fit the game onto the physical disc. And then similarly in the aquarium design, you can have this grand idea of, well, here's the animal that we want to show off, and they're just like, oh, well, these animals only live like a year and reproduce once, and then that's it. And so how do you design an exhibit for that type of animal? And then for the deep sea, it's like, okay, we need all these big systems. Can our building actually fit those systems, the aquarium that we actually have to build in? So I'm loving seeing the shortcuts in the game here based off of what you just need to do to build the game, and then what we also have to do in the physical world with the aquarium.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because it kind of reminds me of some stuff that we like talk about when we're making games, because you kind of it's very multidisciplinary, and I think it's really kind of cool that sort of extends to like the stuff that you folks are working on. I find that super cool. I don't know. Ow. As I take damage.
Muffins in the chat is mentioning that we are doing a little bit of an incentive here on this particular stream, that if everybody watching right now donated $1, you get to see real life Patrick the Sea Star, this voice talking to you dressed up as a starfish. And we really appreciate all of your help and donations. Thank you, Jaxler, for doing this speed run for us during Ocean Week here with GDQ. The aquarium was closed last year for 14 months without any revenue from all you folks out there visiting, and now that we are open again, you can once again come and visit us. But again, we are at reduced capacity for the time being, so every little bit helps. It costs about $19,000 per sea otter per year to feed them, and so every little bit helps here to make sure we can continue our mission of inspiring conservation of the ocean and commenting over speedruns of SpongeBob games, becoming more and more by the minute central part of the aquarium's focus.
I think we should have like a speedrunners day at the aquarium, kind of see how we can mix that together. That would be really fun.
I would so go.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. It'd be so much fun to do some kind of a like people are in a part of the aquarium doing a very fast speed run, and then somebody in the building has to go on a speed run of finding different exhibits or something to see who can complete the game or the treasure hunt quicker. Right.
There we go. So you had to grab one happiness object there, and then in this next section, I'm going to be going for kind of a tough skip. So this sort of next platform is supposed to have a bunch of enemies appear. And the trigger for that happening is when I touch the sand. So if I do this right, you'll never exactly see that happen. So I'm going to try to jump on top of this piece of architecture right here. I have to land on a very thin signpost.
Nice.
And then jump to the jellyfish. We got it first try. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. That was rad.
That's like the skip that I like never practice, which I really should. It scares me every time I go for it, because you still go for that skip in order to avoid the enemies that do spawn in if you screw it up, but they are more than capable of attacking you during that. So I'm really glad I didn't have to worry about that.
Okay. Oh,
so
those orbs are moving like that. Oh, okay, they're spinning. They had that same effect as like the thing in the doctor's office of the orbs that just go back and forth in pendulums and end up creating sine waves. Anyway, sorry,
yeah.
that was a wild bit of optical illusion there.
There you go. So we're taking this boat ride. We have one more Patrick to find, and I have to hit these buttons along the way. This is like the only reason we have to come out here too, because each of those like green mossy platforms in the back over there are spawned in as a result of hitting these buttons. So we have been trying for years to find a way to skip this boat ride because we can't do anything to speed up the boat other than take out the enemies very quickly. But if anyone wants to do some glitch hunting for us, find a way to get to that cardboard box up there without having to take the boat, and I'll be indefinitely grateful to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Wilderness Gate in the chat has a question. I don't know, Emily, what do you think about this? The aquarium speedrun IRL while Jaxter does the SpongeBob run side by side. We have to do aquarium shows on opposite sides of the aquarium, as many as we can in a specific number. Can you imagine?
Those days. Oh no.
Got to do the sea otter show, followed by the penguin show, then an auditorium program, then the open sea feeding again. Oh man, that's just.
I mean, I'm just saying that I would take those chances at that speed run now when we have less people in the building.
That's true. Yeah,
than
no.
I would have during, like 3 summers ago. Yeah.
Jaxler, do you have any tips on despawning strollers that might be in your way in an aquarium IRL speedrun? Is there any way of?
I might have a couple, but I'm not sure that they're.
Yeah, they might not be legal.
They might not be legal.
We figured out why Patrick is wearing the policeman.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not allowed to despawn the strollers. No, we had a day. Actually, the record day for visitation of the aquarium was part of my first summer working at the aquarium. It was Labor Day weekend 2011 when we had a young white shark on exhibit at the aquarium. The aquarium's the only. The Monterey Bay Aquarium is the only aquarium in the world that has successfully exhibited great whites. And by successful, we mean we've exhibited them healthy and released them back out to the wild, healthy, the young white sharks. And we were able to do some pretty amazing research with white sharks while they were with us, figuring out their metabolism or how much energy they need to grow. And that really helps the resource managers for the wild population to know, okay, this is how much a white shark needs to grow. Therefore, here's what we need to do for protected areas or for fisheries management. But so obviously it was a huge media sensation to have this white shark on exhibit. Then obviously Labor Day weekend, we ended up having, I think, close to 19,000 people visit the aquarium on a single day. And we had just, we have a few different areas in the building that we would just call Strollerville, where we would try to direct all of the strollers into. And the Strollerville just took over the aquarium. There were strollers.
Strollerville turned into like Stroller Metropolis.
Yeah, stroller apocalypse even. Yeah, it was just, there were so many very young visitors visiting us that day with their wheels in tow. And so that was a bad day for speed runs. Let me put it that way.
So we're going into the final boss fight now. We got our last collectible in that last level. So spoiler warning: Plankton, the evil guy in all the SpongeBob episodes, is once again evil. So he made a big robot. So we got to go take it down, which he modeled after himself, which is kind of interesting. So. Yeah, so it's broken up into 2 major halves. You've got like these rooftop run segments that we kind of have to wait for the boss to get to. And then we go inside the core of the robot to deal damage to it, and we'll be doing that in 3 waves or 3 sets. And each time, it doesn't vary too much, but the big key from a speedrun standpoint here is I'm going to be getting the buff power-up once again. I really want to make sure that I don't take a hit. You get a backup power-up per core phase. You'll see me go into a core phase right here. You really don't want to have to go for the power-ups because it wastes a lot of time and movement. So I want to try to keep this one until the end of the stage here. So we got 3 generators to break. I'm going to continue to do this spin hopping movement in between. Yeah, sometimes your hits face through the generators because they have a great hitbox. And then I have to be really careful with the enemies here. You're invincible during the cutscene, but if they manage to wander over to you and hit you over the head, you lose the power-up but take no damage. It's really frustrating.
Oh, no.
I have lost PB attempts to it. It's very silly, so I always try to be a bit cautious there. But the big purpose is to have the extra damage, because there's going to be some really tanky enemies right here that I have to be careful about. But this is a pretty straightforward segment, and it's mostly just a test of the movement stuff that we've been doing throughout the game. So I don't have. Yeah, go for it.
Oh no, this part here is just giving me a lot of Crash Bandicoot vibes.
Yeah.
Just watching it. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is definitely like the most Crash inspired level for sure, but it's very simple and straightforward, but when you're on like a really good speedrun, It it is a wave of emotions. That was another. I didn't even mean to. I'm sorry.
No, that was a perfect pun.
Oh my
you
gosh.
Could add in a wave
you have
of
infected me.
But you can just add a wave of emotions and add the ocean there into emotion.
Hey, there we
Boom,
go.
You got the double, yeah.
Eye for an eye,
No.
I got you.
No, that's one of our favorite things, figuring out different ways that we can do puns, because, you know, the social media game is all about trying to pause people's thumbs as they scroll through their feeds. And so coming up with puns and jokes and different things like that, it's really just fun for us and hopefully fun for the audience. I guess we're less interested in how the audience takes it if they go, we hate it. It's just like, perfect, you're reacting. Because ultimately, you want to get people to stop, think, and look at what they're reading, and so that's where a lot of the puns come from. But once you start thinking in puns, it can be a very slippery slope. Like if Chris spills one of the water samples on the floor and is licking it up, as we saw earlier. But yeah, once you realize that words that end in shun can just be ocean, and then anything with C is suddenly SEA, and so then you get words like consideration that start popping into your head. So yeah, this is the pun percent, or the pun run.
100%.
100%.
I got you.
Yeah, the speed puns for the speed runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going into the final phase here, and time isn't coming up quite yet, but once we got the last core phase, we'll be on the end of the run and have successfully 100% of the game. Now, I will go ahead and double check 100% completion after the run, just to make sure that I didn't forget anything, but I should be fine. But we got 2 extra waves of bullets here, and then I'm going to be going in for the kill on the final phase here. Interesting to note is that you lose your power up regardless of what you do going into this phase, which is really annoying. It only loses like a couple of seconds, but it's just one of those like moral victories that the game pulls on you that's just really frustrating. But we got 3 generators to go, and then we deal the final blow to the heart, and on final hit is when we call time for the speed run. So we got 2 more generators, and then I'll let you all know when we call time.
Nice. At the aquarium, those would be called generators. But you got this. 1 more to go.
1 more to go. Good. Get ready. Time. Whew, okay.
Hey.
All right.
Great
Great
job.
job.
Yeah,
That
great
was
job,
awesome.
Jaxler.
All right.
How you feeling?
So I'm feeling pretty good. That was it. I was actually keeping track of my time in the background because self-judgment reasons, but I was a 1:12:02, that's actually really good. This is a really hard category to do in a setting like this, so I'm really
That's
honored to show it
awesome.
off. That was as good as I could hope for.
Excellent.
Oh, great job.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jaxler. Do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give before we switch over to the next game?
Yeah, I'd like to give a couple of community shout-outs. I'd like to give a shout-out not only to the whole SpongeBob speedrunning community, but the Truth or Square speedrunners in general. A lot of my friends like Jackalaka, Bubble Bass, Exotic Sponge, a lot of people I'm just going to double-check 100% completion real quick. Good, okay. I didn't cheat. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. I just really want to thank the Truth or Square speedrun people because they've been kind of like my rock for a while in terms of my place in the speedrunning community. So I'm just very appreciative of them being appreciative of me, I guess. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone at GDQ for inviting me to be a part of this. It really was an honor. And
Of course.
I guess, yeah. I guess one other thing. If you want to see more of this game and a whole lot more speedruns, make sure you check out GDQ this summer. We're actually going to be showing this game off at GDQ on July 9th. Towards the evening. It's going to be a any percent race, so that's where you beat the game as fast as possible. That's going to be a race between me and Bubble Bass, who's a really good buddy of mine. It's going to be really sick. So check that out if you can. Thank you all and the Monterey Bay team for being a part of this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you,
Thanks, Scott.
Jaxler. That was so much fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. If you enjoyed this run watching, please make sure you follow our runner, Jaxler. That's twitch.tv/Jaxler1, as well as our commentators from the Monterey Bay Aquarium, who I do believe stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/MontereyAQ. And don't forget that you can type !NBA shop to pick up some cool Monterey Bay Aquarium swag, as well as NBA donate in chat to donate to the aquarium, which goes toward care for the animals, rescue programs, maintenance for the habitats, and the aquarium itself. So all of your donations so far have been very much appreciated. Please keep them coming if you can. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Shift and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. So don't go away. Hi everybody, welcome back to the GDQ Hotfix, where we are celebrating World Oceans Day here on Time Capsule. This entire week, in fact, is Ocean Week, and you can type !NBA donate, as well as !NBA shop to see more information about the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which we are trying to raise funds for. And here with me, I have Patrick, Emily, and Chris from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Hi, hello, welcome back.
Hey, we're here.
Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being there.
Well, thank you all
Very excited.
for joining us again. If you could maybe reintroduce yourselves for those of us
Sure.
just joining the stream.
Yeah, reverse order this time. I'm Pat. I'm part of the social media team at the aquarium. So if you follow us on our different social media feeds, you might see of our handy punny work over there. And the better half of the social media team is also here in Emily.
Hello. That's me. Hi, everyone. More interestingly, we have Chris joining us from Team Water Quality. Yay!
Yay!
Chris, I'm part of our water department here at the aquarium. That means I'm one of the ones who gets to go around and sample water from all the exhibits around the aquarium and test it to make sure it's healthy for our animals.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We also have speedrunner Shift here. Hi, Shift. Welcome.
Hey,
Everyone. It's been a while since I've done one of these marathon type things, especially because of all the stuff going on last year. You know, not a lot of them going on. So if I seem a little bit nervous, that's probably why. You know, just first time doing this in like a year and a half, I'd say.
Well, we're all friends here, so it's going to be just fine, I think.
It's going to be a great time.
So, Shift, tell us about the plan. We're doing any percent today for Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Right. So this objective is similar to that of Super Mario 64, 70 star, or any of the Super Mario games where you need to collect a certain number of stars to reach the final objective or final boss. Just a typical 3D platformer. You collect 75 golden spatulas, which are the collectibles in the game. It's like a reference to the show. There are 100 of them, and we need to, in a routing perspective, we need to find the fastest 75 to collect to access the final boss and finish the game. Very typical where you run around collecting stuff. It's an open world game where you enter a level and there are objectives to collect in any order. But this speedrun uses a lot of level exploit and glitches and bugs to accomplish these goals. So if you've played this game before casually, maybe you played the remake that came out last year, you might notice that a lot of things are being done out of order, especially because we take advantage of some of the great mechanics that were left in this game that are honestly ahead of their time. It's a very solid game, very well made for the era that it came out. So hope you guys will appreciate the show tonight, what we got going on here for those of you who are watching from home.
Oh, we are definitely going to appreciate this live stream for sure. Just before we get started, Shift, are puns going to be positive or a distraction to you during this stream? Just want to know, are these going to be power-ups if we do the puns?
Do what you got to do. It's all for the entertainment.
A man after my own heart. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's your show.
All right, well, whenever you're ready to do the countdown, we got you on the timer.
All right, so we'll count down from 3, 2, 1, go. All right? 3, 2, 1, go. And if you hear a little like thumping sound in the background, I'm using splits and I have like a little USB split pedal on the ground. So that's what that is. Don't worry about it if it's like audible. So yeah, we start off in the pineapple here. This is the most linear part in the game other than the final boss where we just collect the first spatula and leave. And once we get out into the world, it's free reign. There are multiple levels that mirror levels, or rather worlds from the show. You have like Jellyfish Fields, downtown Bikini Bottom, Rock Bottom. There are levels in this game that reflect episodes that were only these levels showed up once, right? There's one episode where Rock Bottom shows up. There's one episode where the Kelp Forest shows up. And the first 3 seasons, at least, of the show, at the point when this game was made. So the developers put a lot of care and detail into capturing all these different areas of the show that were maybe even only mentioned a few times, if even. They actually made up one of the areas in this game. You'll see that later. But one of my favorite things about this game, since it is Ocean Week, we should definitely mention this. For the limitations of this game, for being an Xbox, PlayStation 2, and GameCube title, one of my favorite things they did with this game, and did so well, is keep the immersion of being underwater. And you'll notice all the bubble particle effects and, you know, the little shimmering effects on the, I don't know what the technical word would that be, maybe you guys could help me out, but you'll notice like there are like little reflections on the rocks, and you can really just feel like you're kind of in like this this secluded area of the magical SpongeBob sea land. It's pretty cool.
Well, we did talk a little bit about slippery rocks in the last speedrun, and we could be attributing that to biofilms, which are some pretty cool parts of the ocean ecosystem, which is all that microorganism life that forms these slick films on the rocks.
It's not just the Oscars for the rocks there with those slick films that come out every year as well. But yeah, there's actually lots of research that goes into biofilms and all the different things that live on the rocks. There's research going into where kelp spores and other organisms are hanging out in kind of dormant on the rocks and in these biofilms that many a grazing gastropod like a snail or an abalone might be slurping off of the rocks. We've been seeing a really amazing kelp year right now in the Monterey Bay and along the Central California coast. And so there's a lot of kelp that's kind of popping up in places where there hadn't been a lot of kelp in a long time. And so they think that in those biofilms, those slippery rocks there could be kelp spores and other things lingering and waiting. I see that we still have the mechanic of sliding on with your tongue.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask actually once I'm done with this. What's your take on robots lurking under the sea? How about that? Sound like a good plot for a movie, maybe a video game, perhaps, by chance? I think robots are cool.
Yeah.
That's the plot of this game. There are robots attacking Bikini Bottom, and it's Plankton's fault, and you have to reach the end to stop him. That's the whole 75 spatula goal, right? You got to get to the end of the game to stop the robots, and you get faced with a giant robot version of the character you're playing as. So it's a pretty sick ending to a pretty, humble platformer, I guess you'd call it. I mean, another thing too with like, this is more like a video game culture thing that most of the time these games based on TV shows and cartoons are typically looked down upon because of the bad rep they got during the early 2000s, where basically every single movie, TV show, whatever licensed IP would have some video game tie-in or multiple video game tie-ins because they wanted to cash out on video games being so popular, right? But this is one of the few games during that era that ended up being a really solid, high-quality game. And that's one of the reasons why I've been so fascinated with over the past 5 or so years. I did play this game as a kid, like a lot of us did, but something about this really caught my attention when I was around 19 years old. I saw a speed run of this game that somebody else did, and I was just so fascinated by like, why is the movement so smooth? Why are the animations so polished? This is running at a stable 60 FPS on the GameCube and the PS2. Like, how is this even a thing? Like, this is just a SpongeBob game, So part of that fascination has led to me, playing this game a lot over the past 5 years, trying to help with the help of the community, bring the time as low as possible. So that brings us here.
What have you found out as to why that was possible in this game and not some others? Were there any techniques specifically employed by the game developers, or what did you find out?
It's actually pretty cool. What they did back in the day with this game, I'm not sure if this was standard at the time, but they had individual developers or groups of developers working on specific levels, and at the end of the game, they had one person come together and kind of like check over all of it and compile all the levels together to make them cohesive. Kind of like how like if you had like a group project in high school, you had the one guy who'd just go over and put it into one singular voice kind of a thing.
Interesting.
Oh, let's go. All right, so another thing too is I was actually blessed with being reached out by one of the developers a while ago. The first time and only time actually this game was in GDQ in 2017. I was reached out to by Jason Horner, who was the lead software developer of this game, and he was kind enough to shed some light on some of the weird mechanics and stuff that we were kind of curious about when we were doing this whole speedrunning thing when this all blew up in 2016. And he actually was very, very passionate about this game he made. He said it was his favorite game he's ever worked on. And he's doing great things now too. I think he's working at Bungie. Some of the other developers I think are working at Insomniac and some other places. So they're all doing very well. It was a really solid team, and a lot of those guys put in over 60 hours a week just to make sure it was polished to combat the low time they had to make it and the short budget.
That's all
Yeah,
super
it's-
fascinating to hear about. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it sounds like they put in a lot of work and time into that, so that's pretty great.
Yeah, and another little like background thing about this game as well. Do you guys remember THQ Nordic, the GDQ people? Do you guys remember they made a lot of games back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so did I say THQ Nordic by accident? I meant to say THQ. So THQ actually went bankrupt sometime around 2010, maybe a little earlier, a little later. And their assets were bought by this company called Nordic Games, and they combined to create this this corporation called THQ Nordic. And they were basically just big fans of THQ games. They wanted to try and bring them back and revive them. And obviously the game plan, if you have the license to a THQ game, such as this, maybe you try to get the publishing license for other SpongeBob games as well, like other Nickelodeon games. So eventually this led to them scoping out, deciding, which games they would try to remake, just to kind of, I guess, like get themselves out there. Get their, I have to do this. I was gonna do a backup there. Sorry, this trick requires a little bit of focus, but I'll try my best to explain while I'm doing it. So pretty much they were just scoping out to figure out which game they were going to remake, and they ended up choosing this one. And it came as a shock to us when we first learned that this game was going to get a full-blown remake. And it turns out, after a while, we ended up getting in touch with the devs. I was actually invited to the studio where they were making the game in Vienna.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
got
cool.
to play it for a few days and give them some ideas on like how to improve stuff, which some of them actually did make it into the game. They were able to fit they were able to fit them in. Sorry, there's a lot of talking.
That's fine.
It's tough, but
Oh, no.
yeah, no.
No worries. What were some
they
of
did
your
say that a big reason why they were able to make this possible is because of the huge fan base that has surrounded this game over the past several years. They knew that there'd be a good target market for, shoehorning this game into the Twitch market and kind of getting a lot of big streamers to take notice to it as well, because it was getting a lot of attention around the time that this was being developed. And, the best part is that not only has the speedrunning community of this game really exploded over the past several years, the modding community has as well. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but this guy, Igor Sibra, he is the lead developer and honestly nearly solo creator of this great tool that is used to modify levels in this game, which there was never an official one released. They reverse engineered and figured out how to make a level editor in this game. So what THQ Nordic did is they repurposed that level editor this community made, and they used that to import the models and assets from this game into Unreal Engine to make the remake. So not only did this community have an impact on the remake in terms of proving that there's a market for this specific game from 2003 to come back in 2020, but we also quite literally helped make it in that the level editor was used, the one that this community made was used to make the game itself. So there's a lot of back and forth with the original devs, the remakes devs, the players who currently play, the modders, people who speedrun, all that stuff. There's a lot of unity around here surrounding this game. It's actually really awesome. I love how far this has come over the years, with which just started as like a little hobby that a bunch of us had, a bunch of little teenagers playing this game. And it's just come so much further than we thought it ever would.
Well, it seems like even the community has turned out. We have a lot of Shift fans here. Someone asked earlier, will we see Sunny later?
Let's hope.
We have an incentive going right now. So if you didn't know, if you're just tuning in, we are doing all of this Ocean Week stuff for the Monterey Bay Aquarium. You can type !NBA shop to pick up some cool ocean swag, or !NBA donate to donate to the aquarium. And if we get to an incentive of $1,000, we will get to see Shift's cat named Sunny, as well as a picture of Patrick dressed up like an anatomically correct starfish, or sea star, my bad.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to
Aquarium
say.
Patrick.
Yeah, Aquarium Patrick being
Yes.
me over here. I honestly think that seeing Sunny is going to be I mean, my incentive to hang out here on the stream. That photo of me no longer necessary. But you know, the thing with the sea star and starfish, I know people ask, you know, Patrick Sea Star, Patrick Starfish. The way that we like to say it at the aquarium is, you know, whatever word is working for people to understand what you're talking about, because a sea star is also not a ball of plasma suspended in space by its own gravity, so it's not really a star either. So if anyone has ever in your life, Smooth Operative, if anyone has ever been like mean to you about saying starfish or sea star, just know that the aquarium is on your side. It's whatever word needs to be used there for comprehension.
It was ingrained in my head in a marine biology class, and so I always end up correcting myself. So I guess that's where it comes
Be free from that. Name it what you need and just talk about what it does. That's the important part. And speaking of what it does, I just want to say, Shift, this is really incredible to watch you speedrunning this. And also thank you for sharing all of that information about how this game came to be, because as a very, very casual gamer in my world, I just find it so fascinating to see how the community playing the games and the game developers end up being a part of this ecosystem. It's very similar to our what we do on the... What was that?
That's a great word for it, an ecosystem, right? It's basically
Yeah,
what it is, honestly, right?
Yeah, it's so much of what, you know, on the social media side, you know, for the aquarium is we get a lot of comments and feedback from folks on our Twitch channel and on our YouTube channels that say, hey, this is kind of what we want to see, or this is what we like to see. And then, you know, we make those videos, we post them, people are like, this is awesome. And then the metrics people are just like, whoa, look at these numbers going up. How did this happen? What did you maximize? And just like, somebody asked for this, and so we did it. And so then now they're happy. And it's so, I really love the parallels between what you're talking about there with the game developing and passion projects and working together with the people consuming your product to make it even better. It's really cool to hear.
Yeah, you would expect like a lot of like casual gamers to assume like, oh, if the devs saw them doing this, they'd freak out. Like, they're not supposed to be doing it this way. They you know, like they're skipping all the good parts, you know, and stuff like that. But like it's crazy because these devs are they're all for it. They love that we're still playing in some capacity. I mean, with these 3D platformers, it is sort of it's sort of a relic of a genre. There are some newer games like Super Mario Odyssey, and I think that they're I think the people who made Banjo-Kazooie back in the day made a newer I think it's called Ukulele more recently. They're trying like newer like platformers, but really the golden age for this kind of, you know, jump around on stuff and collect stuff was really back when this game was made. This was the golden era for these types of games. But now it's, you know, these games are they're much greater in scale. They have like these huge open worlds and there's so much to do. They have like these hyper realistic, like, you know, like Red Dead Redemption and like GTA. People have so much high standards for what they expect out of games now and how much content they have. But, you know, back in the day, something that can be beaten in, well, of course with speedrunning, you know, we can get through it in like under an hour, but these games were not that long. They give you maybe like 4 to 5 hours of playtime, and you'd play them for over a year because that's all you had. You didn't have Steam to download games. You didn't have
That's right.
so many options to play now. You just appreciated the little you got. And plus they couldn't patch things, or there's no DLC either. So like you have like these very simple games where the objective is jump on stuff and collect stuff and stuff like that. Like this game and some of the Mario titles, you know, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, all these platformers, they've found a new home outside of the casual community and the speedrunning community because, I mean, it's just the perfect storm, right? It's a short game. There's stuff to collect. There's this really cool movement and tricks you can do to collect the stuff. It's very simple. The audience can understand. They can follow what's going on. And I don't know. Speedrunning is really preserving these platformers. It's like the perfect storm for these types of games to stay alive for as long as they have.
That's super cool to hear about. As somebody who was I wasn't allowed to have video games for a while, and so they always had this attraction of just like, ooh, what's this video game? You know, different parenting styles and things going on. And so once I was able to get a GameCube and start playing those games, I only had like 2 or 3 games, like you're saying. You just play them over and over.
Yeah, you just learn to appreciate them, right? It's
yeah.
You just fall in love with them, you know.
And so would you is it something about the speedrunning community, would you say, where you're able to kind of stay in the like kind of the original frame of mind that you might be when you're a kid first playing a video game, where you can just like truly enjoy it for what it is instead of like would you say that there's a, I guess my question is, for speedrunners, is there
I get what you're saying. I think for a lot of people it's that way, where speedrunning is a way of re-enjoying something you once played when you were a kid. But I think that a lot of people have like different reasons for like why they speedrun. You know, like there are games where there are prize pots for like how quickly you can beat it in like race format. You know, like they just start the timer at the same time, and whoever wins, you know, it's like a prize pot more or less. There are also people who just want to see how far the game can go. You know. There are some people who, especially in this community I know, didn't even play this game when they were a kid, and they're here speedrunning it for thousands of hours of practice and attempts, you know? It's like this game just pops up out of nowhere for them and they just start playing it. So I think it's a mixed bag. There are definitely a lot of people who play these games for nostalgia, but the ones that tend to survive the most have the greatest merit in gameplay is what I've found. I don't think this game would have survived as long as it has if it weren't so fun to play. On the other hand, though, I think that you need a little bit of both, you know? Like, a game like the Super Marios and, like, for example, like SMB from 1985, I believe, that game has been preserved, not only because it's just a very solid game, but there's a lot of nostalgia tied to these older games. People just, they want to keep them alive, you know? So that's definitely a factor involved as well. Like, nostalgia is definitely part of it, but... You know, I think it's got to be like, you got to have everything, you know? It's got to be appealing for the viewers to watch. They got to be able to understand it. It has to be, you know, fun for the runners to play, obviously, or they'll just get sick of it and get burned out. It has to also, you know, it just has to be a bit nostalgic. It has to have that recognizable, iconic brand. SpongeBob being one of the most popular cartoon characters of all time, at least in the United States. You know, a game like this has arguably just as much going for it as a Nintendo game, for example. And it's funny because speedrunning for a long time was pretty much dominated by Nintendo games. Always just, they were the most popular ones of all, for sure. But we're seeing games like this, you know, even like Minecraft now is being speedrun at a very competitive level, where you're seeing a lot more diversity now with the types of games people are playing. People will pretty much speedrun anything now, and I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. What is all the 30? What is all the 30 exclamation points?
So
what is happening?
It's think of it like this. When I was a kid, I used to get myself in a lot of trouble. I'd go to Chuck E. Cheese or like Dave & Buster's or whatever and climb up onto the skee-ball machine and stick my wrist in and generate points to pay out the tickets, you know, like that kind of a thing. That's basically what we're doing here. We have a ball stuck inside the machine, just going back and forth with the collision of another object to keep generating these points. And we're going to use this, which is the game's main currency, to purchase some of the things we need to finish the game. So it's pretty loud and it's a lot of rapid noises. What's going on here is this 30 is playing 30 times per second. The game runs at 60 FPS, so at best, when it's going in and out of the ball hole once every other frame, you have 30 ringing sounds per second, so it can get pretty loud.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was reading the chat and I'm just seeing all these 30 exclamation points and then loud and everything. I'm like, that's wild. So I guess that's a hazard of speedrunning is sound glitches that could cause some hearing issues on your end. Are there other physical dangers
I'm totally
of
used to it
speedrunning?
by this point. We used to have a trick in this game that has like flat, like you pause the pause screen a bunch of times to like clip to the ground, and it would cause some like little flashing lights, but it's nothing like serious, you know. Like if this were so loud that it would like impair someone's hearing, along with like any tricks that would cause like, you know, like epilepsy or anything like that, like I think like by now, you know, we would have had to address that, you know. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that happen though, where like we have to like set rules for like I guess like hearing loss or anything like that to prevent stuff like that. I know that there are games like that have like a lot of like flashing lights or like loud noises that I've never heard of that before, but that's a good point. I mean, you never know. At some point there could be a game where it's really a loud noise, you got to protect your ears, I guess.
No, it's just really interesting to see all these different game mechanics coming through with the speedruns and how they break. A lot of different design considerations in an aquarium setting too for all the different people that might be visiting, with different sensory perception of the environment. And so we have a lot of different techniques and other things that we have at the aquarium to make sure everyone's having a good time and that the music is the right level and everything. So I don't know. I'm just fascinated by watching you break down the game and just thinking about what it looks like when people find ways to break the aquarium in ways where it's like, oh, we didn't realize that you were going to try to do that. and the lessons that we can learn from that. And then I just love seeing a big old lobster also on screen, being very happy with the lobsters pee from underneath their eyes. I don't know if it's been a while since we've had a marine biology
My
bit of
chat is
information
never
there.
going to let that go now. They're going to be talking about that for the next week, so thank you.
Oh, perfect. No, you're welcome.
Talking about that one, we can also give them sea cucumbers, which sea cucumbers breathe through their butts.
That's true. Yeah, they have a mouth and they have a butt, and they do not breathe through their mouth.
You guys
Back,
really?
back
I don't
in-
even want to see what Twitch chat's looking at right now. They're probably going nuts.
Well, I mean, if they're looking into sea cucumber butts, they can also look into pearlfish, which are a type of fish that live inside the anuses of sea cucumbers, tropical sea cucumbers. Every so often, if you're a sea cucumber researcher out there, you might pick up a few cukes, put them in a bucket, come back the next morning, you've got a few cukes and a fish in there. Apparently, the pearlfish are really polite and will actually knock on the rear end of the sea cucumber for it to open up, and they swim inside. We're not exactly sure what the sea cucumber gets out of it, but the pearlfish gets a little bit of living. And if anyone's experienced the housing market in Monterey or the Bay Area, sea cucumber butts not the worst thing we've seen on Craigslist, I would say. But
I had a question about just like so a character in SpongeBob is Sandy, and she is a squirrel who lives underwater. Like how does that work? Like, do you know what
You ever hear of like a fish out of water character? That's basically it's a spin on that because they're underwater, but she's like a land creature.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funniest jokes in the whole show. Just kind of just there. The people have asked though, because she lives in a giant dome, right? Because she has this tree dome that has a tree and grass. Like what she would need to survive and produce oxygen underwater, like hypothetically, if that were to exist, you know. I guess that's how you would do it. But people have like called out, like, wouldn't the glass dome break underwater because it's at the bottom of the ocean, you know? Then there's also the counter theory that like Bikini Bottom is like somewhere near the surface, not too deep, because there are like, you know, there are deeper areas of the ocean that you can't explore in this game. We'll get to that later once we get out of the second boss fight. But
yeah, I would
Sandy's
say
a
that
marvel.
Bikini Bottom, just based off of the flora and fauna that you've got around that general just kind of sunny area, you're definitely above 100 feet deep in the ocean, somewhere tropical. And we have remotely operated vehicles for the aquarium's colleagues, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, that's a little bit north of here. They have access to the Monterey Submarine Canyon, and they have ROVs that go down several miles deep out here. The canyon is 2.2 miles deep at its deepest point. And to house all of the electronics and cameras and everything, we have a bunch of housings that do very well, including a lot of titanium spheres that will go around some pretty fancy tech. But the cameras that we have that go down there are very expensive to withstand that pressure. The pressure, though, the biggest difference of pressure is in the first 15 and 30 feet of the ocean, because 1 atmosphere of pressure happens within the first 33 feet of water. And so if you have your lungs at full capacity on the surface, by 15 feet, they're half of their volume. And so that's why scuba divers and other free divers and stuff might experience pressure-related injuries really close to the surface, because the largest difference of pressure happens near the surface. But once you can make it down a certain way, or down far enough, then the pressure considerations are somewhat mitigated. But at a certain depth in the ocean, there are animals that rely on the pressure around them in the folding of their proteins. And so when you take an animal from the deep and bring it up to the surface, it might just stop functioning on an enzymatic level. Just the way that its physiology works might start breaking down, because it needs the pressure of the ocean to fold its proteins into the proper configuration to function. And that's some of the stuff that we do research with at the aquarium when we're trying to exhibit deep sea animals like a flapjack octopus or something else that lives down really far. We have to think about, how might we account for temperature and oxygen levels, but then also what if the pressure is just not enough for the animal to function physiologically. So it's kind of wild to think about that at the bottom of the ocean. You've got proteins that need the weight of the water above to curve it into the right configuration to work. So anyway, Sandy is probably pretty safe, I'd say.
Okay.
That's a long way
You're
of saying
saying
that.
there's a chance.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance, yes. Correct.
And another thought about Sandy's survival, we mentioned oxygen. She doesn't even necessarily need the tree if you're making oxygen down below, because most of the oxygen we breathe is actually coming from the ocean. It's coming from phytoplankton. And that phytoplankton makes up about 1% of the total plant biomass in the world, but it makes about 90% of the oxygen we breathe.
Yeah, and
Fascinating.
it changes over so quickly too. So if you have a redwood forest, some individual trees might live for 2,000 years, but the phytoplankton might be turning over, depending on what type of phytoplankton, could be turning over every day, every week, even a couple of hours for some of the cyanobacteria. So yeah, Chris, exactly. She doesn't need the tree. That's probably just more for nostalgic purposes of reminding what it looked like topside. For the oxygen consideration there.
Yeah, it's like her house.
Shout out
she
Cyan.
lives in it. She's got like it's like carved out, and she has like a bed in there and everything. So it's like her
The
house.
biggest
Yeah.
concern would have to be getting the bins if she ascends too quickly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, shout out cyanobacteria for fundamentally transforming our atmosphere into a toxic wasteland until organisms develop the ability to use oxygen for their cell respiration. Back in the day, oxygen going to the atmosphere was not good for the other microbes that were around, or just oxygen in general. So you still have anaerobic bacteria that prefer life with no oxygen. And those are potentially some of the precursors of life on the planet, where they were living before any oxygen was around. And currently, you're fighting a gigantic Patrick with some slime going around. Did you do anything in particular to cause this angry event here of?
Did you notice the
Patrick?
first boss was also shaped like Sandy as well?
Yeah.
So
So these are evil doppelgangers.
These are the main bosses, yeah. So the first boss, you fight Robot Sandy with SpongeBob and Patrick. The second boss, you fight Robot Patrick with SpongeBob and Sandy. And then the final boss in this game, you fight a replica, like a gigantic replica of SpongeBob himself. And he has like a little plankton robot, but like because Plankton's so tiny in the show, like his giant robot form is around the same size as you. So that's a pretty quick fight though, because there are a couple of really big skips we can do for those. But the cool part, what makes this game stand out so much from other platformers, in my opinion, is the final boss, the absolute final level, is not actually a boss fight. It's a platforming level. So once you defeat the first phase of the boss, it expands and then you go inside of it. And there's like a whole platforming level inside the giant robot where you have to reach the end from destroying a bunch of the robots that you learn how to fight throughout the game. So it's a nice comprehensive test of skill. There are no checkpoints, no way to replenish your health. It's just a raw test. And I think because of that level, a lot of kids that I knew when I was growing up never even beat this game. It's pretty tough for a bunch of 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
I've always found platforming like very challenging. So
It's a true platformer, this game. It's really, I always say that like this game doesn't really have high ambitions. It's not like super crazy lucrative, like, you know, like what does Super Mario Sunshine have, like 180 blue coins scattered around, and like, it's just like, you know, there are 100 spatulas, there are 80 socks, which you trade for spatulas, and the game runs at a stable frame rate. It really just doesn't even crash, honestly. It's very hard to crash this game. It looks good, it runs well. And it's just simple. It's simple, but it does well. And I think that's just perfect for speedrunning.
I have to agree with you. I also want to remind everyone that this is Ocean Week. If you just got here, you can type !NBA donate to see more information about the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is what all the proceeds are going for. If we reach $1,000 during this stream, we are 700 away. Shift
Oh,
will show
goodness,
off
thank you.
Sunny. Yeah,
we
thank
got
you so
him?
much.
Nice.
We're 680 away from seeing Shift's cat Sunny, as well as a picture of Patrick dressed as a star. So thank you all so much for donating. We very much appreciate it. All of those donations go to things like the aquarium upkeep, as well as maintenance and taking care of the animals, of course, feeding them and things like that. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, $1,000 is about 1/19 of our budget for one of our sea otters that we have at the aquarium to feed them restaurant quality, sustainable seafood. So thank you so much for all the donations, everybody. This is awesome.
Someone had asked earlier, what is the estimated like daily cost of running the aquarium?
Oh,
That's a question.
It's in the millions. I know that.
yeah. Well,
Oh my gosh.
well, I think what is it like our operating budget for a year is close to $40 million. And then there's all of these other things on top of that. So it's just like to keep the building going, just running is close to $40 million. And then a whole bunch of other stuff is stacked on top of that.
Yeah, our power bill, because we're constantly running lights and pumps and filters and all that, is roughly about $1 million a month.
Yeah. So, yeah, we really appreciate everybody donating, especially last year with the aquarium being closed for 14 months. We lost about $50+ million in revenue. So, all of your help goes directly to our mission, which is to inspire conservation of the ocean. And as we talked about on the previous speedrun and right now with Shift, I think commentating over SpongeBob speedruns is becoming a core part of our business function at this point, and it's really a whole lot of fun. So if you want to keep these speedruns going with all of us in the future, and then also just keeping our animals well taken care of so we can keep bridging the gap between the ocean and the people that are responsible for it. Yeah, all of your help is really, really appreciated, everybody. Thank you very much.
I do want to point out, Mocking Dragon, I am still here while Patrick continues to talk about SpongeBob. I was just behind the scenes with Muffins. We were plotting some good rewards for us for more goals that we hit, including ones where Patrick and I might dress up in our Mola Mola costume and try and do something with that. I have Trooper Cam ready to go in case we want Trooper Cam to be one of the rewards there. Yeah, we've got some good ideas for rewards for different amounts that we can try and reach for our fundraiser for us. Woo! Let's go.
Whoa, yeah, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Shift, for providing such an excellent speed run for people to look at. I'm loving seeing your community in here, too, just really cheering you on. People are asking if this is close to your PB right now. How's the run going?
I lost over a minute on the 30 trick. Remember that from earlier? Yeah, that's one of the biggest run killers in this game is that one. And the one that I just passed as well, the faster boost that I did at the beginning of this level, I lost around a minute to that. So yeah, we're probably gonna get something between like a 47 and a 48 with this. Overall, I feel like a lot of the harder tricks I've gotten pretty well in this run so far. Just like, this is the kind of game where if it rains, it pours, A couple of things went wrong and I've lost 2.5 minutes. That's just what happens. I mean, people are probably used to watching my reset attempts on stream where like if I make a big mistake, I can just reset the run, but when you see these runs play out after something goes wrong, that's when you really realize like, wow, like the level of precision you need to get to the end and still PB at this point. Because at this point, like getting a 44, for reference, the world record in this game right now is a 45:17. I set that a couple of days ago. And the best possible time, thank you. The best possible time we're looking at right now with the strats that we're using is around like 30 to 40 seconds under that. So there really is pretty much no room for error. It was over as soon as that thing happened with the 30 machine. So yeah, in a marathon setting, it'd be pretty incredible to actually come anywhere close to a personal best, especially in a game like this. For reference, I've been playing this game as a speed run pretty much every day for the past 5 years, and from that we've built a community surrounding it, of course, but I've also accumulated nearly 20,000 attempts of this game, just starting the timer. Maybe not necessarily finishing it, but I've attempted to speedrun this game around 20,000 times. That's just for any percent. There are other categories too, like for example a 100% speedrun where you just get everything in the game. It's not just like get to the end as fast as possible. You have to actually route out like what are the, like we can't just count things out like, okay, well we can't just get rid of the slowest objectives. Now we have to actually figure out how to make the slow objectives faster. So it's a much different kind of approach to speedrunning. And there are all different kinds of ways of speedrunning this game, because if you only had one way of doing it, it probably wouldn't have lasted this long. People need options to try when they get bored or when they get frustrated, plenty of those.
That is fascinating. What dedication you have? Sorry, dedication you have to this game. This is awesome.
Yeah, I should probably explain what's happening here. If you've noticed, I'm starting to run a lot faster than I was earlier in the beginning of the game. This is due to an exploit called cruise boosting, the iconic exploit of this game. Other than the skee ball trick that you saw earlier, of course, those two are just huge. So for cruise boosting, there is a move in this game you probably noticed, the bubble bowl. He creates a little like a bowling ball out of a bubble and he chucks it. So this actually gives you an increase in speed when you use it. Let me just get this. There we go. And this increase in speed can be captured if you cancel the animation before it finishes. And a good way of doing that is actually using the cruise bubble, which is the other homing missile attack that you might have been seeing earlier as well. If you use them on the same exact frame, which is 1/60th of a second precision in this game, if you do that twice with a bit of movement in between, you can capture around your walking speed, which effectively doubles your running speed. When you're, see what I just did there? I just did a slide and now I have twice my usual running speed. But the catch is that I can't really stop now that I'm doing this because the speed is built off of my stationary speed, if that makes sense. Like my total speed is now my bowling speed plus my running speed. So you'll see like when I collect this next spatula coming up after I save these kids from flying away.
Oh, thanks for doing that. I was concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the one over there probably drowned because he fell in the ocean, but, you know, we'll deal with it. Right over there. We'll deal with that later. You see how I'm kind of like being pushed forward when I do this? Whenever I collect the spatula, I'm getting pushed around. I can't actually control my character when that's happening. It's just a part of the glitch where his movement speed is just staying because, you know, the bowling speed is not getting canceled by anything, so I'm just stuck in that animation being pushed around. And when you run forward, it doubles, if that makes sense. The thing that I lost a minute to earlier in Rock Bottom, the deep trench level, was one of those faster cruise boosts, because you can actually get faster ones than just what I'm doing here, but it only works in some specific areas. You have to get more speed by falling off a ledge and doing the cruise boost on the exact frame that you fall off the ledge. So that little like sliding momentum of like falling off the cliff a little bit, that little bit of displacement can be harnessed, and it makes you run even faster than I am now. Currently in this run, we're only using it in one area. Two if I use a backup, but I don't have to use that as often because most of these runs, like, if I'm at the point where I need that backup, they probably end up dying at that point anyway, or I'm on pace. It just hasn't really happened too often. So most of the time you'll just see that one. And they do vary a lot in speed. They can be really, really fast or really, really slow. But you want to hope for the fast ones, obviously, because they do save a lot of time. It's one of those things where this game has a lot of nuance to it, where just because you got something first try doesn't mean that you're going to save time doing it, which just makes it all that more difficult to speedrun.
This is just so truly impressive. How much of this speedrun do you think you could do like blindfolded at this point, or just like eyes closed?
I've tried.
The way you're doing so much of the commentating while also nailing these. You said 1/60th of a second. So do you dream about about this? I imagine you can see this in your
Funny
sleep,
enough,
right?
there actually is a level in this game based on SpongeBob's dream. There's an episode of the show where he invades people's dreams to see what they're dreaming about, and they all get mad at him at the end for intruding on his dreams. But the developers of this game said, you know what, let's just make it into a level. They have a bunch of like different what the characters are dreaming at. You can just play them out. And it's a really fun level. It's like your final challenge before you get to the final boss. But yeah, to answer the question about earlier, a lot of this stuff comes down to muscle memory, but like getting a really optimized run requires a lot of focus, which is part of the reason why I'm not getting anywhere near a 45 or a 44 right now. This is probably going to be a 48, which is a world of difference in a speed run. Like at this point for this game, 20 seconds is a huge gap of time to lose. It's because it's so refined down to the exact movements. A big misconception with speedrunning is that people are kind of rushing through the game when they play, but all these movements are all completely planned and routed out. A lot of the work that goes, or most of the work actually that goes into this, just getting it to where it is just behind the scenes, strategizing, mapping things out, where things go. And of course, you have the glitch hunters and strategy hunters as well, who try to find new ways of doing things. And then those strategies go to the routers, and the routers figure out, okay, how can we fit this into the run? Is this fast? Can we make this work? It's just a big, like you said, it's like an ecosystem of the end goal being to beat the game as quickly as possible. For a game like this, though, the routing is really interesting because you have all these spatulas that over the course of, because this game's been speedrun for over 10 years at this point, we have all these spatulas that are like, they're all very fast, you know, like it's not for certain that these spatulas we're currently collecting the run are even the fastest ones we can get. I know for a fact the ones that I'm getting aren't, because there are some other theoretical routes that are a bit inconsistent, which do save a bit more time. And it's just a matter of optimizing, you know, how consistent your run is with how fast it is. If you do too many hard strats, then you're not going to get as good of runs. If you do too easy of strats, you're not going to get as good of a time, even though you may be more consistent. So you got to take risks here and there. It's a part of it. But that's what's fascinating about this game, though, is you have all these different like approaches to running it, where you have people running, you know, really consistent routes, really inconsistent routes. People just kind of pick what they want and they run with it based on what, like, playing to their strengths, I guess, you know, what they feel their selection of strategies, you know, best suits their play style. So you'll go on the leaderboard for this game and you'll scroll down and like maybe skim through some runs, and you'll find that all these runs, they don't even look alike. They have all these different strats and different routes and different spatulas. They go to different areas of the game in different orders. It's a really hard game to get good at, because you need a lot of knowledge about how routing works to get to that point where you know, like, okay, well, if I learn this hard strategy and implement it, you know, how much can I potentially save? How much am I likely to lose? I have to put it in the right spot, otherwise I'm not even going to save time doing it. It's like putting together a puzzle, I like to say. It's like one big puzzle, and the actual like grinding part where you sit down and, you know, press buttons for 8 hours straight, that's only a fraction of the stuff that goes into planning something like this.
Yeah, this is just fascinating. In talking about how much focus you have to have, I read something the other day about in chess tournaments how grandmasters might be spending 5,000 calories in a day just because of how much processing they're doing and how much focus they have. Have there been studies on you speedrunners to see like how many calories you burn on like a fast speed run and a slow speed run? Just because I imagine that at that point.
That'd be very interesting to know. I'll tell you what, though, yeah. I'm exhausted after a day of doing this.
Sure.
It's very tiring. Yeah. I always try to, you know, take a nap before I get on stream, before we start going at it. It's crazy though, because like I can do like upward to 24-hour streams if I'm just playing games for fun, like casually. But when I'm doing this, when I'm really focusing on it, it's really difficult to, you know, maintain that high standard of play while also, you know, focusing. And I mean, like, the thing is with commentary, it's way harder to focus when you're trying to explain the run as opposed to just casual, like, talking to your chat, like, hey, what's up, guys, how you doing, you know, cracking some jokes here and there. That feels a lot more natural and not like planned out. But with commentary, especially with a game like this, there's so much to explain, and I've tried not to explain too much, because obviously, like, the point is to talk about marine life. But for a typical marathon of speedrunning, I would just be blabbering for this entire time, and it just does not stop because there's so much stuff to explain that's overlapping. It's tough to really get through it, and also thinking about what you're going to say next, as opposed to thinking about setting up the next trick you're going to do. That's also a thing too. I find pretty difficult at times. So it's
I want to know,
it's a whole different art, just, you know. Speedrunning for the time versus speedrunning for just the commentary entertainment, you know, the showcasing. They're two totally different things. They're both pretty unique skills, in my opinion.
So you're controlling a sponge, but what I want to know is which animal in the aquarium would you say uses the most brain power on a daily basis?
Well, it really is going to depend on which animal is the hungriest that day, because we have quite a few masterminds, tricksters at the aquarium, always trying to be one step ahead of us in terms of getting a meal. So a lot of the octopuses, you know, they're always kind of looking to try to find a gap or a hole in the rock work to try to hide in and go see if they can snag some extra snacks. I would consider that Kit, the sea otter, is one of the masterminds at the aquarium. when I first started at the aquarium, I was actually a volunteer with the sea otters, helping take care of rescued sea otter pups. And Kit was one of the first otter pups that I actually got to feed a bottle to. And you could already tell when she was young that she was thinking on a different plane than some of the other otters. And one of the things that she did while she was behind the scenes one time is she had learned that we have in our holding pools for the otters behind the scenes, we have these tables in the water called haul outs so that the otters can get up out of the water, warm up, or just not be swimming around if they don't want to. And what Kit had figured out is that she can take one of the buckets that might have been in there for fun. She could flip that upside down with an air bubble inside of it and then shove the bucket underneath the haul out and kind of float the haul out a little bit. And then she would recruit the other otters in the enclosure to help her push the table towards the door. And there was one moment where I went over to feed Kit and opened up the door, and then there she is right there at the door standing up like, ha ha, clams for me. And you're like, ah, you like threw the food in, shut the doors. Like, how'd she do that? And you watch the replay, and it turns out that she was teaching the other otters how to help move tables around. She's infamous for ruining puzzles that we may have built up for a long time in just a few seconds. Yeah, Emily, Kit is one of the masterminds at the aquarium.
She and Ivy together are like the most mischievous bunch in the world. The two of them are just, it's incredible what the kind of shenanigans that they'll get up to. I think Kit has also like figured out how to like pull out bolts inside of the exhibit and stuff too.
Yeah.
So like she can like grab on with her little paws.
Oh
No opposable thumbs, but she can grab on and just like spin around and figure out like, oh, I can twist this and something shiny will come out.
We're
Yeah,
actually
we-
about
we
to
fa-
face up. Sorry, you were saying something? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that famously, some of our otters figured out that there was a fixture on the exhibit window that was slightly loose. And so the otters went and undid the fixture, taking the bolts out. And they just nicely placed them up on the deck, just like they would be asked to retrieve any of the toys or enrichments that they may have gotten. So in the morning, the staff comes in and sees all these bolts that are on the deck just nicely laid out. And the otters are just like, look what we did. And then it resulted in many weeks of fixing what they had decided to break.
Yeah.
So whenever you hear like otter proof, like especially OtterBox, I mean, shout out to them for having an otter themed phone case brand, but guaranteed that otter boxes are not otter proof. Very few things in this world are. If you give otters long enough, they are a force of entropy in the world. Sorry, Shift, you were gonna say something?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say we were about to face the mastermind of this game. You were talking about the aquarium, so I thought I'd chime in and say,
Sweet.
you find out the real villain is actually the robot version of Plankton as opposed to himself, because he set the thing that makes the robots to do not obey, and when he switches it back to obey, the twist is they're not obeying him; they're obeying his copy of himself. It's a silly little plot, but it gets the job done. You know, it's just SpongeBob is silly, you know. It's a classic game, absolutely.
It's the classic hubris of the villain of creating a clone of yourself, thinking you're still in control.
Yep.
Do you feel in charge? No, sorry.
All right, that was it. By the way, I don't know if I'm not watching the stream, so
Oh.
the timer stopped. But yep, that was the run.
That went by so fast.
Yep.
Wow, well done, Chef.
Well done.
77
Yes.
spatulas in a very short amount of time. I remember back when I started running this game, the world record was a 107, and since then, it's gotten over 20 minutes faster. There have been so many times we thought this game was pretty much milk dry, but somehow, some way, like 10-second by 5-second personal best over the course of so many years, we've somehow gotten it down to here. And that's also thanks to all the routers and strat hunters who help with this game too. No, it wouldn't be possible without them either.
Sounds like it's a very close community. So thank you so much, Shift, for showing this game off. Do you have any shout-outs, Shift, or anyone from the aquarium that you'd like to give before we wrap it up here for
I
today?
take it we didn't meet the cat goal, I guess.
We didn't meet the kitty cat goal, but if you do
That's
want to
okay.
see Sunny, I assume that everyone can find Sunny on your stream, Shift, at
Yeah, they just gotta redeem the
twitch.tv/.
channel points at some point. Takes a while, but they'll get there. Yeah, so I guess shout outs to him. Shout out to the man himself, Sonifer. That's what they call him. They have all these nicknames for him. They got like a little cult surrounding him. I don't know how I feel about it, but you know what? It exists. It's okay.
Sunny's the star of the show, it seems.
Upstaging me all the time.
Aw.
You wake up one morning and Sunny's sitting in the chair with the headphones on, just like, not today, it's my stream. That's awesome.
Well, that being said, we do appreciate all of the donations that did come in during
Yes,
this
thank
stream.
you very much.
Thank you all
Yeah.
so much. Anything else that you'd like to add?
I guess the one thing I can say is there is a world record history video on this game. If you're curious to know how this all got started, it covers everything from the creation of the game up until the first GDQ run, actually, back in 2017. So that's what we have so far. But probably later this year, early next year, I'm going to continue working on it to try and get up to 2019. So that's out there if you guys like history type videos. I know those are pretty popular on YouTube nowadays. But yeah, the first one's an hour long. If you're curious, give it a shot. It's a lot of work went into those.
Well, thank you very much.
That's awesome. Is that
and-
Sunny emotes in the chat right now?
I
Is
got-
that?
Oh,
is
is
that
that-
Probably I can't see them, but I assume so.
Silver linings. We do get to see Sunny. Well, thank you all very much for tuning into this very special Ocean Week episode of Time Capsule. We've got a lot more specials coming up throughout the rest of the week. Tomorrow we have the Bargain Bin, followed by Speedruns from the Crypt, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you again so much to the team at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And if either of you, any of you want to say anything else about the aquarium, we will have the !MBA donate command going through the chat all week, so feel free to donate at any time.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Shift, and your amazing community for coming in and entertaining us. Thank you for all of the information about speedrunning. I feel like I learned so much about what y'all are getting up to, and it's just a really fascinating thing. So thank you for taking the time to share
Thank
your
you for
expertise.
commentating with me as well. And also thanks from myself to the community as well for supporting this event. Appreciate it, guys, for popping in. We'll be doing more runs tonight, don't worry.
Yeah. Thank you so much to everybody in the Sunny world for being there with us. Thank you, Shift. And then, thank you to everybody who donated to the aquarium. Again, your donations are going directly to the care of our animals and to continue our mission of inspiring conservation of the ocean. Today is World Ocean Day, so I really appreciate everybody being out here looking at Ocean Week here on GDQ. It's World Ocean Day today and every day at the aquarium here on our blue planet. So thank you so much for the donations. And I want to give a huge shout out to Emily and Muffins on the back end there for setting up the Tiltify so that all y'all out there could donate directly to us. Thank you so much. You've helped feed a sea otter for at least half a day so far. So really appreciate that. Emily, anything else?
Yeah, we raised $400 during this
Yes,
stream.
thank you,
So
everybody.
That's huge. So thank you to everyone who donated, and thank you for those folks who made the switch over. We had originally donations directed to our website, but we set up the Tiltify campaign really quickly, so now you can donate there, and it's a whole lot easier. And yeah, so thanks. I was very quiet there for the second part of that because Muffins and I were frantically just like keyboard catting it behind the scenes to each other, just like, okay, what can we do? And so that, just huge thank you to everyone for helping
and definitely.
out.
And also wanted to give a huge shout out to Chris, Team Water Quality. Chris, thank you so much for being there.
Having me again.
Yes.
Always
For
glad to
2
see you
whole
guys.
days.
Yeah, Chris is a big part of our Twitch streams with Team Water Quality being some of the first people to hop on our Twitch stream from the aquarium. So Chris is an amazing person on a great team that makes sure that all of the water, the physical medium that all of the animals are living in at the aquarium is doing well. So thank you, Chris, for also joining us yet again for Games Done Quick Ocean Week. Very fun to have you.
All right, everybody, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Time Capsule. If you enjoyed the run, please make sure you follow Shift on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shift. And if you enjoyed the commentary, make sure you follow the aquarium on Twitch as well. That is twitch.tv/MontereyAQ. The next episode of Time Capsule will be a little bit later than expected, June 29th. We're going to have a 2-player, 1-controller special for you. So I hope you will tune in for that. We will see you again tomorrow for Speedruns from the Crypt and the Bargain Bin. So take it easy.
Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.